And we are live here, back with real news, the ongoing election special, as we are trying to stop the steal as we get close to Inauguration Day, about 2 months from now. But we have a very special show today. We have a little bit of a throwback show in a way, back to our radio days at Penn State at the Line 90.7 FM. We are joined by, of course, our usual hosts here of myself, Alex, and Dictator or Pluffy. I don't know what stats we're at yet, Phil. And we Fluffy! I guess it's still Fluffy. And we are also joined by a guest that we had on the original Real News on the Line 90.7 FM in my junior year, I believe. It is the one and only former radio host of Penn State's, I believe, Altered State, Cosmic Rebecca. Welcome to the show, Cosmic Rebecca.
Greetings, Sean, and greetings, Phil and Fluffy. Meow. Yes, I'm actually the former host of Avant Garde, with which I did with Cosmic Ray for years. But yes, recently I have been a guest on Altered State with DJ TK, and most recently I did an interview on his Alterween election special 2 days before the election, as a consequence of which I am now banned for life in perpetuity.
Yep. Yeah, and we're going to dive right into that, and we'll play you guys all the clip, because it's pretty crazy what they banned her for, I have to say. Because we've had our fracasses with the radio, as Alex calls them. Not physical fracasses, but, you know, we've had our moments of contention, but this is a whole new level. But we're also joined by the, I believe, former co-advisor, alumni of the Line 90.7 FM, Mr. Andy?
Former alumnus advisor of the Line 90.7 FM and founder and host of the Radio Free Penn State Public Affairs show that ran up until 2012, when I was promptly dismissed from the station for a variety of other reasons. And it was a long run. It was a rip-roaring ride at the station.
Wow.
A little bit before you guys got there. So,
yeah.
But thanks for having me on your show, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys for coming
on. One generation to another.
Well, those were the golden days of radio at the Line 90.7 FM.
Yeah.
We had a lot of wild shows then.
That's right.
In addition to Short Yosha Andy, we also had Jam 91. We had a girls' night. We had a sex and relationship show, Cosmic Rayon, and I were on in the middle of the night, and he used to play, I think it was a track of a woman having an orgasm for about 45 minutes. So, really? No, but this is a classic. This was a classic track, really. So those were the days, unfortunately, and Andy can talk about this later, those days are over. How do we go from that to now my saying just the China virus and banned for life? Well, I'll let you play the clip and see what your listeners think.
Yeah, I can't believe you got away with playing 45 minutes of that. I mean, that's something.
Well, it's amazing what you can get away with. It's amazing what you can get away with late at night or on weekends.
But not anymore, because Andy, you were saying that you could not get away with what you did on Radio Free Penn State 10 years ago.
Well, it has nothing to do with any kind of lewd or indecent conduct or verbal conduct. That's a completely different thing altogether. What I was talking about was how it seems like you can't get away with having a simple conversation about any number of contemporary political and social issues without being in some way censored today as compared to the years past. So without wasting any more time, let's let Sean get up and get right to the point.
Absolutely, yeah. We will play the clip right now for everyone to hear, because you'll be surprised that this is what did Cosmic Rebecca in, but we're going to play that now.
Ramped up massively. I have been just very, very...
All right, I have to refresh the page. Apparently, Mixcloud is not the best service for playing anything when we need it. I've never used this service before.
Sean, while you're just setting that up, could I read something to your listeners?
Actually, I have it set up right now. I just had to refresh the page, but we're good to go. And then you can read your piece.
Right. Okay, so your listeners are going to hear just how naughty I was on the Ultraween election special.
Yep, we're playing that right now.
Screwed over by the DNC. That's all I want to say about that. I wish that she had been given the opportunity to actually do her thing.
TK.
All right,
TK,
what, Rebecca?
TK,
What?
Please,
what?
Please.
What?
Let's right now.
It doesn't have to be all testosterone. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, but if
throw some estrogen in there.
If the president is a male, he better have plenty of testosterone, and not just a little bit, not just an average amount of it. He better have testosterone boiling over. And what otherwise
wouldn't that justify having a much younger president than either of the people that are currently?
Oh, well, see, that's the amazing thing about President Trump. It's amazing. And look how quickly he's recovered from his bout with this Chinese virus. But actually, I'm going to call it the PRC virus because I don't want to, I don't want Chinese Americans, real Chinese Americans, patriots, to be offended by what I'm saying because I speak Chinese. I'm in a Chinese organization, so let's just call it the PRC virus.
You could always go with the Epoch Times. You could always go for the Epoch Times version, which is the CCP virus. It actually specifies.
I know. I love that paper, the Epoch Times.
The government versus the the actual country itself versus the people. It's
That's very true.
Like let's just put the blame on the government.
We'll get back to China.
All right.
Okay. So, all right. So. Our leader...
My testosterone is giving out. I have slumped down. I am defeated.
So that's the full context of it right there. And as you can see, Cosmic Rebecca was referring to the Chinese virus, but then corrected herself and said, I'd actually like to call it the PRC virus for the People's Republic of China Communist Party, PRCP, I guess. But then even the hosts there of the show said, hey, why don't we go with the Epoch Times term that they use, which is the CCP virus. But apparently that was too much, and we had, as the iHeartRadio interview you were just on today, the guy on there called it, DJ Karen went and complained and said, no, that's racist, gotta get her off. And now she's banned for life from the Line 90.7 FM, a radio she was on the whole time at Penn State's Penn State official radio. She's been on our show, but you can't go on at all right now. So what are your thoughts? What do you have to say for all this?
After 6 years, I've been banned for life. Well, as I said, I'm just going to read a little bit from a newspaper called The American Advocate from Idaho. And, I think this is very apt, since I've been so naughty in talking about the Kung Flu virus that has swept the globe from the shores of mainland China.
It's Kung Flu.
Oh, Kung Flu? Oh, the Kung Flu virus. Actually,
by the way, DJ TK's in the chat. Hi, DJ TK.
Oh, you're in the chat. Hi, TK. So this article is called Steps to Bondage, which seems very appropriate since we're talking about naughty words over the airwaves. And there's actually an image of the bondage statue at the Anne Frank Monument in Boise, Idaho, which I have visited many times. And it says here, the statue of bondage shows the steps that lead to the loss of freedom for individuals and nations. The 5 steps are as follows. Number 1, language. In the first step toward enslaving nations begins with propaganda and takes away freedom of speech. Protesters who have recently destroyed cities throughout the United States call themselves Antifa, which means anti-fascist, the opposite of what they actually are. Nazism is a form of fascism with disdain for democracy and use violence to suppress opposition, in this case, language, freedom of speech. And then it goes on, the next 4, I guess, chains of bondage would be government officials avoiding their responsibilities, discrimination, violence, elimination, and as Vice President hopeful Kamala Harris said, quote, they won't stop, and they shouldn't stop, meaning the Antifa, the people who are trampling all over our freedoms. So yes, well, you mentioned briefly what happened to me. Everyone just heard the clip, and a few minutes after I said that another host, in fact, not a random caller, but another host texted the host of the show, DJ TK, and in the text, which I've seen, he said, she's a blanking racist blank, and the first blank begins with the letter F, and the third blank begins with the letter B. And then during the break, she called him on his own phone, not on the station line, and she just blasted him. She sandblasted him. She unleashed a torrent, and then again called him the next night and unleashed a torrent. And what really makes me angry and really pains me in my heart is that she didn't have the guts to call in to the station and actually discuss this with me on air. She should have. And this is someone, DJ Karen, she's been a host at the Line 90.7 FM for about 14 or 15 years, longer than anyone else. She should have at least been professional enough to call into the station and discuss it with me. And DJ TK, the next night when she called him again and started yelling, he offered her my telephone number and she refused to accept it.
Wow. So she was totally not open to any conversation, which obviously doesn't get us anywhere on this. Did she do anything else after this, after she complained to the radio?
Yes. Well, about a week so since then, about a week and a half ago, DJ TK said to me when I asked him about the situation, he said, it's a bit of a headache, but it's manageable. And he said the station officers emailed him, the president, to say they're on our side, his side and my side. But then somehow, over the course of 10 days, it escalated. And a few days ago, both he and I received messages, emails from the president of the Lions saying that I have been banned for life. The university code of conduct was invoked. And in the code of conduct, it actually says that you cannot be discriminated against for your political beliefs. Actually, in the email in which they're banning me for life, they cite the code of conduct as the reason for banning me, and that saying China virus or PRC virus is a violation of this code of conduct. But then you read a few other lines down the code of conduct, and it says you can't be discriminated against for your political beliefs. As Nigel says, you cannot make this stuff up. Perhaps I'll ask Andy to comment about, because he's seen the email and the section of the code of conduct. And Andy, you were saying earlier that that section is not actually the code of conduct.
Yeah, so real quick, she would receive this email saying that the station from the student officer saying that she cannot be offered any more airtime, and they cited the school's code of conduct as the reason. And they give a quote here that's excerpted. It says it's the policy of the university to maintain an environment free of harassment, free of discrimination against any person because of age, race, color, ancestry, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, gender, blah, blah. I'm just going to skip over religion, creed, uniformed services, veteran status, marital family status, and on and on and on. But it also says political ideas as well. Next sentence, discriminatory conduct and harassment violates the dignity of individuals, impedes the realization of the university's educational system, and will not be tolerated, unquote. So we did a little digging, and that's actually incorrect. That is not the Penn State University Code of Conduct. The Department of Student Affairs at Penn State has a code of conduct, but this is not lifted from that. This is actually lifted from a university-wide administrative policy. Administrative policy number 91, 8091, is on discrimination and harassment related to inappropriate conduct. And it grew out of similar policies like 8085. It all deals with sexual harassment, Title IX, and all that kind of related stuff. And these policies are always evolving and changing because, Penn State gets sued left and right. And so they constantly have to kind of like reword and recraft these policies. Some of them are aspirational. Some of them tie into procedural processes when it comes to enforcement and doling out student disciplinary actions when people do things. But it's by no means limited, of course, to student conduct or anything like that. It's limited to everything from employers and managers and supervisors and how they deal with their subordinates to faculty-student relations and on, as you can imagine. But in any event, this is from policy 8091. that they lifted what they quoted as the reason for her dismissal. Um, and, it doesn't matter, though, where it came from. The bigger point, there's 2 points that I see. Firstly, she really didn't violate anything. She in no way projected any kind of animus or any kind of harassment toward any individual person for any particular reason or purpose or basis, namely, like, let's say, race or ethnicity or anything like that, as they tried to suggest that she did. And so it's a completely inapplicable application of a policy that they didn't even bother quoting correctly. They cited the wrong thing. And so, secondly, Rebecca is not an employee, nor is she a student. She was simply a guest on someone's radio program. And as you may remember, Sean, I don't know how you did your show, but I tell you, when we did our show, we were very much advocates of free speech. And in the course of doing so, the one thing that student radio exemplified within the university, even though some programs may have been a little too racy, the bigger point, though, is that campus radio exemplified the true spirit of education in that you were able to have rigorous and robust debate and open discourse over any number of issues and topics. And that's essentially what a university should be about. That's what higher education and higher learning are supposed to be about. And so what you have at Penn State, if I can just kind of sum it all up from 30,000 feet, you have a litany of policies and guidelines. And as I said, some are more aspirational, some have more teeth. They all deal with diversity and inclusion to one extent or another. And all of that sounds great because you want everyone to feel comfortable in order for them to be able to learn. Sometimes people's sensibilities may necessarily come in conflict with the spirit of open discourse and rigorous dialogue and debate. And when it does, all too often, places like Penn State and other schools, PSU is not alone, they often come down and err on the side of censoring or enacting policies or enforcing measures that lead to chilling effects among students, so that they don't always end up having that kind of rigorous and open discourse that they quite frankly ought to be having both inside and outside of the classroom, and certainly both on and off the radio airwaves. And so there was nothing that Rebecca said that in any way was in violation of FCC guidelines regarding obscenity, profanity, indecent oral conduct, or verbal behavior. None of that. It was all well within FCC guidelines. And because one person complained, that went up the flagpole, and then all of a sudden the heat came down, and the student officers sided with that person, I guess, and decided, okay, we're not going to permit this person to ever come back on the airwaves, citing the code of conduct, which again was inapplicable in this whole matter. So that's a sad, unfortunate, the short of the whole story.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing too that really got me, and I was even going to ask you that be answers, that she didn't violate any FCC policy, which is the one thing that I can totally understand to get somebody kicked off there for. I think the FCC is like ridiculous with a lot of their rules and pretty anti-free speech in a lot of ways. But if you're going to be an FCC licensed radio, you got to follow the FCC's guidelines, and she didn't violate any of that. And even this guideline here, I found the AD 91 discrimination, harassment related inappropriate conduct policy from Penn State, and as you can see, like, here's the part that they cited, and I don't see how, it's so vague that you could throw anything into this. It says there's a policy university to maintain an environment free of harassment, free of discrimination against any person because of, and they name every, characteristic under the sun. How does a university even do that, number one, like, to 100% maintain that is, like, not physically possible?
Sean, to maintain that, they'd have to maintain 24/7 vigilance, so that anytime anyone said anything that made someone else feel harassed, violated, that the person who said whatever the remark was would have to be silenced.
Well, right. And
Isn't that the upshot of this?
In fact, just real quick, just for the record, Penn State actually got sued. There's a Christian legal group called Alliance Defending Freedom, formerly Alliance Defense Fund, out of Arizona. They found a plaintiff back in 2006. He was a Penn State student who they sued Penn State for a policy. I forget which AD policy number it was offhand, The policy concluded with the phrase, intolerance shall not be tolerated. Okay, that's literally what it said. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up, right? And they got sued for that, meaning that they had to, other than paying for like attorney's fees, the main point of the suit was that they had to rewrite the policy to, pertaining to harassment to be more in accordance with existing state laws, rather than writing these overly broad policies that try to encompass anything and everything under the sun. And that alludes to your point, Sean, because what they do is they deliberately write these policies in this kind of catch-all way so they can cast the net wide, so that anytime someone farts the wrong way, they can say, aha, you violated our policy. So now it's time to slap you on the wrist. If they want to, if the political winds blow such that it's expedient for them to do so, of course, because other times, you know, somebody gets away with something and, oh, nothing happens. But in this instance, Rebecca, you know, stepped on the wrong eggshell and somebody's feathers got fluffled a little bit. And suddenly now we have to slap her down conveniently along the lines of a policy that we're citing that isn't even really being cited. So it's all a bunch of BS. And no, this only leads to a chilling effect that opens up more lawsuits.
Yeah.
Okay. But I do hold out some hope. I have one hope that when Donald Trump inaugurates his own party someday, that he will grant me a presidential pardon.
Okay.
That's my great ambition for the future. But just to get back down to earth now, in that paragraph, in
You
which
haven't been convicted of any crimes, but go ahead.
Yeah, I wouldn't admit to a crime yet.
A presidential pardon for my actually quoting the president. And if you are silenced for quoting the president of the United States in the premier democracy of the world, or we're supposed to be, free speech is truly dead, right? Or it's uttering its last death rattle. And that is what is really terrifying here. And if you notice in that paragraph, Sean, in the email that was sent to me by the president, he says that we, of course, uphold an atmosphere, you know, a policy of free speech here, open debate. And then at the very end of the paragraph, he says, but you can't say the China virus or the PRC virus
Right.
because you cannot append any race, the name of any race, etc., to the name of a worldwide pandemic. And as we discussed yesterday, Andy, with the Spanish flu, and don't forget the Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, which the Obama administration coined. And question, if I had said either of those during DJ TK's show, would DJ Karen have been offended? And if I had said the virus, now I asked DJ TK this, a rhetorical question, had I said the virus which came from China, would she have been all right with that? And he said, no, this is because he really offended her was your entire pro Donald Trump stance. You're pro, we are Penn State, we are Trump, great. You're, you know, talking about him as the anointed one, etc. And how I, as a white woman, I love Donald Trump's personality. I could spend a whole show discussing how much I love his personality. And she was just offended by my entire pro-Donald platform. And he said that's what really got her.
Well,
Yeah.
we were very vocally pro-Trump on our show, and I know she listened to our show, so I'm a little bit surprised we didn't get a permanent axe at some point.
But you did say that you received a ban for several months at the Line 90.7 FM because of something you said, and you believe it may have, it may have been DJ Karen who reported it. Perhaps you should just describe what happened to you.
Yes.
That was before the coronavirus, though.
Yeah, that's a good point, Andy. It was actually before the coronavirus. It was spring 2019, wasn't it?
I believe so. That's when we were reprimanded.
And clearly there's a gag now, and not just at the university, not just at universities, but just around the United States and society against calling it the PRC virus, the Chinese virus, the virus from China, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because when I talk to my mother on the phone, she's in California right now, she has been fed the party line from the governor, Gavin Newsom, that the virus determines everything. The virus is everywhere. We cannot do anything until the virus is under control. And that you're not supposed to say the Chinese virus or the virus that came from China. I mean,
Except protest and riot for left-wing causes and Democrat victories. That's permissible.
Yeah, that's all permissible. Yeah.
And speaking of that, like, I'll give a quick recap of my story. So in 2019,
Yeah, your story.
we were doing a show, and we were talking about a BuzzFeed photo. This was posted by BuzzFeed, the left-wing news outlet, and it was a selfie of like their staff or something, and it was a bunch of women, and they were all white women except one who was Asian. And so we were mocking it because we're like, wow, this is obviously, because the caption on the tweet said diversity, and we're mocking because there clearly isn't any diversity here. Like, they're trying to be all progressive, but it's literally just a bunch of white women except for one non-white woman. And when I was mocking the photo being taken, I didn't emphasize a certain part of a sound effect correctly. I was just like, oh, diversity. Like, they're taking the picture and they're saying diversity, and I made the sound of the shutter like the camera makes. I went ka-chink, but I didn't pronounce the ka discreetly enough, and so you just heard the end of that. And so people that or should I say one person in particular, probably only interpreted it the wrong way. And I can understand how this gets interpreted the wrong way. Like, it was a screw up on my part, but I did not in any way intend or say the racial slur they thought I did say. Because, first of all, if I did, let's say that term slipped out, which I've never used before and would not use. If it did slip out, I would have dumped it. We all know there's a dump button on the radio. It's not a 7-second delay. You hit the button and it would go away, and it wouldn't even go out on air. If I'd actually said it, and if my fellow co-hosts had interpreted it that way and had heard me say that, they would have been like, oh, shoot, Sean, hit the dump button, and I would have. But I didn't, because that's not what I said. But they interpreted it that way, got me in trouble, got me kicked off for like a few months, and then I got back on. And it was just a really bad situation, because it's one of those where you're saying, like, look, nobody's going to believe me, but this is literally what I meant to say and what I was trying to say. And so I understand why the radio had to do what they had to do, but it sometimes does feel like there are certain people out there that are gunning for you, and I wonder if she or some other people listened to my show after that, because they claimed they had complaints from the Asian community. I'm like, well, first of all, does anybody listen to my show? I mean, how many people actually listen to it? And I don't believe we just had this like flood of people from the Asian community complaining over one show played on Saturdays from 7 to 9. I just don't buy it. So I know it was probably one particular person.
Well, Sean, this almost makes me wonder, and I did raise this as a possibility. It's a speculation, and again, it's based on what I know of a lot of universities in the United States and what's going on in California. I'm now referring to California as Chi-fornia. California, is whether there might be some gag order at the top levels of universities that's coming down, and that maybe perhaps we have informants. Perhaps one person is appointed to be. Now, again, this is speculation, because as you just said, how many people were actually listening? Was it as if the entire Asian community at Penn State was listening to your show, right?
Yeah, and I want to make clear, we're all saying this is all allegedly. We really don't know for certain who or what happened with this, but this is allegedly what we believe happened.
Well, what happened to me, though, that's not allegedly, because in these emails, the person, DJ Karen, who complained about it, she is CC'd in all of these emails. And I've seen the text from her to DJ TK, and she said much worse things. Of course, well, I guess this is an adult show. It's late at night, but he told me today that she wanted to slap me around, or that he should in the station slap me around.
What?
For what I. Yeah, he said that to me today. That
those are fighting words.
He said something like, you should slap her, give her a slap there in the station. I hope I run into her on the street, because let her make my day. Let her try to slap me around.
Wow. I see. I wonder how all this conflicts with President Trump's executive order that protected free speech on campuses.
Yeah, Sean, Sean, I was just talking about being slapped around, and I couldn't help remembering when you interviewed me last year, and I was talking about kicking the walls in Britain after Nigel got shaked because I was so PISSEDOOOFF.
No, we're not on the radio.
Okay, but
over here.
Yeah, you can see we're totally uncensored here. But I remember
Totally
too
uncensored.
when we had a caller that complimented your kicking skills.
Oh yes, and that caller wanted to meet me down at the what bar was that in the downtown here? But okay, now Andy's giving me that look. Right, we got to get serious. So let's get back to the larger issues here, because Andy mentioned the riots, and they've happened both in the United States and in Britain. And there's been no social distancing, no mask wearing, and nobody complained about anything. And it does seem to me, from what I'm just observing here on campus, that I'm going to ask you both. DJ Sean, Andy,
Yep.
Why is it that in the same camp we've got the globalists, mask fascists, the lockdown fanatics, the statue decapitators, and I'm calling them the slave speech preachers? They're all in the same camp.
Yeah. It's convenient, isn't it?
Well, not for us. What is it, Sean? Do you want to know something I saw on campus about a week ago? I saw an entire band of outside the music building. They were all playing wind instruments, trumpets and trombones and flutes. And while they were playing, they all were wearing masks, even though they were standing more than 6 feet apart and were out in the fresh air.
Yeah.
Wait,
I mean, in my opinion, this is all relevant. Mask fascism and slave speech preaching. It's all part and parcel of the same deal here.
Let him ask a question.
Okay.
How do you wear a mask and play like a trumpet? How does that even work? Like physically, like unless there's a hole in there, which I've seen like memes of that, but like no, I don't see I can even physically do that.
I know people that knew people in the blue band. They supposedly had to wear a mask during practice with like a slit in it to blow through their instruments. It's one of the dumbest things I think I've ever seen. Like, do they want you to eat that way too now?
Well, I've never played a wind instrument, but you did say that DJ TK is in the chat, and I know he did play a wind instrument. So I can't speak to that, but it just did seem strange to me that they were so far apart out in the open air last week when the weather was so nice, and they were all wearing masks.
Well, supposedly, by the way, circle back to what DJ Karen was supposedly saying about slapping you around. She claims it was metaphorical in terms of slapping you.
She does? Oh, is that what DJ TK did?
That's what I've been told.
Metaphorical. What's metaphorical slapping? Wait.
Yeah, I personally don't buy it. That's my opinion, but I look. I think it's very interesting. And DJ TK did say he played trumpet, which is cool. I played trumpet too back in high school, so that's awesome. But it's very ludicrous to say and crazy to say that's a metaphor. It sounds like you're backstepping it to me, backtracking.
Sean, metaphorical slapping. I should have been metaphorically slapped. Well, let me ask DJ Karen if she's listening and everyone else this. Could I possibly consider that when I said the Chinese virus or the PRC virus, that I was giving a metaphorical slap verbally through the airwaves to the People's Republic of China that let this thing loose on all over the planet, which has resulted in all of our freedoms being locked down in our Western world and thousands of extra mail-in ballots being sent around to people in this state. And in fact, yesterday I attended the Centre County meeting, the meeting of the Centre County Republicans, and that was the topic about all the election fraud going on. But I also told them what had happened. And one of the questions you asked me earlier is, what can we do about this? And they gave me the names of two organizations which they want me to speak to. One of them is the Leadership Institute, led by Morton Blackwell, and Andy might say something about that. And then also Turning Point, which is led by Charles Kirk, who's a good friend of Don Jr. So,
yeah, I've been involved with both, actually. I went to Leadership Institute school and went through their whole training. I know Alex did that too. And we've all been involved with Turning Point at Penn State back in the day when it was pretty cool. And we even brought Don Jr. to Penn State that one year. And I mean, there's a lot of great resources out there where you can pursue action on this. I mean, that's something we can definitely talk about more off air. But my big thing has always been free speech. I know everybody here, it's been a big thing for them as well, because we just can't let this bullying and intimidation continue by the universities, by all these SJWs on campuses. I mean, look, yes, I'm a partisan. I love Trump. I am a populist, nationalist type person, but I still support everybody's right to free speech, and we all do. And this shouldn't be something that's debatable in 2020, but apparently it is, so we have to fight back 10 times harder for our rights, because if you don't fight for them, they're gone.
You're absolutely right. If I can just interject, though, the thing with her case is a little sticky because, you know, she was a guest on someone's show,
right,
on the line, and as we always tell, as you remember, probably, Sean, and we certainly made this point to everybody when I was there. You know, it's not anyone's inherent right to be, you know, on the radio. It's a privilege to be on the radio. It's not a right to have a radio show or to be on the airwaves. On the other hand, what happened in this case is quite absurd. As I said, you know, when one person complains, in this case, it becomes the squeaky wheel that gets the grease. You have, again, I'll just read the actual line that the student officers emailed Rebecca. They said, upon discussions with station officers and faculty advisors, we are of the opinion that the term Chinese virus, in quotes, or PRC virus, in quotes, or any other term that attempts to attach a public health issue to a certain race/ethnicity for no reason other than flagrancy or divisiveness is in violation of the Penn State Code of Conduct, and therefore they're declining to offer her further airtime.
How the hell is PRC virus a violation of that?
Exactly. So they're of this opinion. Well, they're allowed to state an opinion. At the same time, what they're doing here is they're violating one of their existing DJ's right to be able to interview someone he wants to, and in this case, Rebecca, about any issue under the sun that she may on their airwaves, who did not in any way violate the existing FCC guidelines or rules with her verbal on-air conduct. PRC virus is not in any way an allusion to any race or ethnicity. It's the government of a country that, by the way, as we all know, is very much at least culpable for the fact that this virus did in fact escape to the entire world. So calling it a PRC virus actually is actually very, very appropriate, arguably, because had it not been for the actions of the Chinese government strong-arming Italy and other countries into forcing accept international flights from Wuhan, while at the same time closing off domestic flights from Wuhan to other provinces of China, and also lying to the World Health Organization and other countries about the nature and scope of the pandemic, and on down the list. So arguably, PRC virus is quite an appropriate label to put on it. So how the station officers can act like that is somehow inappropriate with respect to the PSU Code of Conduct is beyond the pale of logic and reason. And as far as Chinese virus is concerned, again, it goes back to the point that it's not uncommon to name an illness or a sickness or a disease or any kind of a condition or anything simply because it came from the country where it's ascribed to or where it originated. It's no different than, you know, saying, I don't know, MERS is Middle East respiratory syndrome. I mean, nobody got offended about that. Well, it was named that because that's where it came from. And so, you know, I don't see, and then to furthermore say that this was all done for no other reason than flagrancy or divisiveness. Well, that too is just an opinion.
Could I just interject something there? As everyone who heard the clip, I immediately after I said it that I think it's better to call it the PRC virus, and DJ TK interjected and said I think it's better to call it the CCP virus. I pointed out that I've been learning Mandarin Chinese. I'm in a Chinese organization. I have many Chinese American friends, and Chinese they're wonderful. They're patriots, and I think I went on to talk a little bit about the spying in California by citizens of the PRC and how they're spying on Chinese Americans and reporting back to the PRC. This is a terrible situation. I actually did a MAGA Girls interview about China about a month or so ago in Idaho, and if people want to listen to that, they can go to YouTube, and our filmographer, her channel is Pam Hemphill, just PAM space, and then HEMPHILL, and that was in early October, and they can, hear more extended version of what I have to say about China. But in DJTK's interview, I pointed out that this is not about Chinese Americans, but the person, DJ Karen, she did not hear any of that. All she heard was Chinese virus.
Well, and even there too, what I like when they said in the email about you being divisive and all these other things, they're mind reading. They're mind reading intent there that they cannot prove. And frankly, you can prove your intention because you explained it on air. And I am just, I'm not shocked that the university was, bending over for this, but I'm still a little surprised at just how severely they hit you. And I think it's just a bunch of crap. Like it's just so stupid. I mean, I've never heard of a, because people have said that on the radio before. Like, I think Alex was saying Sebastian Gorka says on the radio all the time. He's on FCC station.
Right. Yeah. Well, now we're getting to maybe it's worse than this because DJTK as well has received a strike against himself and his show because of my appearance and those two words, China virus. And if he gets another strike, any reason, he is off the air forever, even though he's been a host here on the line 90.7 FM for, I think his show's been on 13, 14 years or something like that. So it's worse than just me. It's also affected him.
DJ
and it makes me wonder.
Did nothing wrong.
Now, did that guy, the host, did he try to appeal that to the university?
Unfortunately, and this is the climate we're living in, he and I, DJTK, talked about this today. I do not want to do anything in any way that might lead to repercussions upon him. And it is really sad that we are so fearful now of what we might say or do. He and I both have been a host I was for a long time, and he has been there 14 years of something something that could now get him fired permanently.
Well, actually, if I can just interject, the DJ himself, because he was the host of the show, Rebecca.
Yeah,
he's the one that ought to reach out to these external entities and seek counsel on that and say, look, even though it's not my right to do a radio show, but I have been doing it for a long time. Hey, I had a guest who espoused these opinions and even clarified them. I did so together with her. And clearly there was no intent of malice or flagrancy or divisiveness. Anyone can tell from the context if they listen to it. And I'm being reprimanded by not only the student officers of the station, but in conjunction with and in consultation with quote unquote university faculty advisors who were waiting to be named. And that's where it gets thorny, because it's not the students themselves that are taking action alone. It's in consultation with so-called faculty advisors. We can only wonder who they are. They are paid employees of the university and this state-affiliated tax-subsidized university. And there we have to ask the question, why are the student officers, or maybe the faculty advisors along with their student officer toadies, if that's how they're going to act, why are they creating a chilling effect, trying to censor the existing DJs on the radio station who, along with their guests, are in no way violating FCC rules and regulations?
Now, interestingly, did you ever hear about something called the Confucius Institute?
Oh, absolutely.
I know all about the Confucius Institute. 我会说汉语, I know, because I'm going to tell you right now, I have taken courses with the Confucius Institute in Boise, Idaho, and there's been a lot of controversy about these Confucius Institutes at our universities. And initially we were told, and I was told, that they come from the Hanban Institute which is an arm of the People's Republic of China, and what they like to say is that this is just about culture and learning, for people around the world. And I love Chinese. Let me say something about this, actually. DJ Karen, you listen to this, all right? I love Chinese culture. Everybody knows I'm a painter, and I've been recently painting Donald Trump portraits to try to recoup all my campaigning debt. And I had a teacher from China. Her name was Master Madeline Fu, and she and her husband Paul Fu escaped from Maoist China and the Cultural Revolution with their lives through Taiwan. And then she moved eventually she emigrated with her husband to the San Francisco Bay Area. And then I trained with her in Chinese brush painting for a few years. And I loved her to death. And when she died in December 2016, I have never been the same person as a painter since then. She had the soul. She was like a rock from a boulder, an ancient boulder from the Ming dynasty. She was like a female Yoda. And I had a lot of conversations with her, her children and her family, and other people knew her about her history. And if she were here, if Master Fu was here, Fu Laosha, she would be on my side in this, because she herself experienced the horrors of Maoist China. I'm getting emotional here, but it is because I loved her so much. I loved her. Okay, and I think about her all the time.
Well, what I was saying about that is, I know Penn State, they had a relationship with them up until pretty recently, and I think a lot of those same sort of faculty and the people that brought here have infiltrated the university. And that's here's the thing: if you said this, let's say this was, Spain, like the Spanish flu. If that were the case, and you said Spanish flu, they wouldn't care because they are not compromised by the People's Republic of China. The university itself, and it's not even just that too. Look how much money gets pumped into the university, either from the Chinese students who come here, or from the stuff they buy to the neighboring communities. The Penn State is in bed with the Chinese.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
DJ Phil, can I read something to you briefly here from the Epoch Times, the October edition? And it's about how U.S. universities failed to report $6.5 billion in foreign funding. Universities here, they received a total of more than $19.6 billion in foreign gifts and contracts from 2014 to 2020, including nearly $1.5 billion from China, almost $3.1 billion from Qatar, and more than $1.1 billion from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. So it's strangely suspicious that it's taboo to call out the quote unquote PRC virus now on the airwaves of the Penn State student radio station in light of facts like that you just read. Now that's not Penn State University specific. That's American universities altogether. Right. But there was a federal press release that was released ahead of that, before that appeared, stating this, and that the federal government is finding that many universities in America, one of whom even has a defense contract, is not reporting these monies that are coming from China. So that's very suspicious, and it's cause for real concern. I think we need to shine the microscope on, or the flashlight on that.
Right. And I'll just mention that last year I had a friend, and I have a friend, he is a professor at a university in upstate New York, and he married a woman from the PRC, and I know her, and she's a wonderful person, and I attended the wedding. And then it was right after that wedding that I came back to State College and did the interview with you, DJ Sean, on The Real News. And right after a day or two after his wedding, he and I had a long discussion. And my first question to him was, did you and she discuss her becoming an American citizen? And he said, no, we've never discussed it. It's a topic we've avoided. I said, you've avoided it? He said, yes. And he told me later in the conversation that most PRC citizens, even if they have permanent jobs here at universities and they're married to Americans and they have children who are born here, or U.S. citizens, have no intention whatsoever of becoming American citizens, even if they could, because he did point out that since you had the Trump administration, it's become more difficult. The Trump administration has made it more difficult for them to become U.S. citizens, and I completely agree with that. But he said most of them have not the slightest intention, even if they could easily do it. Their allegiance is to the PRC. And he said the most disturbing thing he said to me was that academics from the PRC at our universities here in the United States are slightly, emphasize slightly, he said slightly report back to the PRC slightly less than PRC citizens who are working in industry in the United States. Or I think he said slightly less likely to report back.
Yeah, and apparently the Confucius Institute at Penn State was opened in 2010 as a part of College Liberal Arts and a collaborative project between the Dalian University of Technology and China's Liang province, and they closed in 2014. And if you look on Wikipedia about the Confucius Institute, they even say on there that in 2020, this year in August, the U.S. Department of State designated the Confucius Institute U.S. Center as a foreign mission of the PRC. I mean, this is just a communist arm of influence in America. And I know I was talking to one of my Chinese friends who's from China and went to Penn State for a little bit and now is back in China. He said that I forget what it's called. It's like I think the Chinese Student Association has tremendous influence on Penn State, and whenever they want something, Penn State does what they say. Whenever they push back on something that Penn State's done, Penn State bends the knee and does what they want. So well,
that doesn't surprise me, Sean, given what I've been doing some investigations here in the downtown of these new buildings going up. Have you seen them? There are several high rises, and of what I've heard is that Chinese banks are funding these high rises.
Which high rises were those by chance? Do you know?
It's the one on the corner of College and Atherton, and then there's one actually right next to Cosmic Ray's building on the corner of Beaver and Pew. And I was just in that building just this evening meeting with Cosmic Ray before I came over here. And I was on the top floor, the 8th floor, talking to one of Ray's neighbors. I popped in to say hello to him. And he said, look at that building right there next to me. He said, the reason I moved into this building was because I had a view. And he said, they just built this building. They built this luxury housing. That's how it was touted, luxury housing. And he said, all the Chinese, I'm going to emphasize, PRC students are living in that building.
I wonder if that's I think it's called the Heights, or what was that, Alex? What's that brand new one that we saw called?
Oh, geez, I don't know. That was see, it's no wonder it's all the Chinese people live there because they're the only people who can afford it.
That's right. The money Chinese
a month.
And we're not just, the amount of money is ridiculous. When I came back here a year ago, and again, I hadn't been here for a few years, and I see them driving around campus in Mercedes SUVs. And this again was September 2019. I spoke to a merchant in the downtown. He's had a store here for about 30 years. And I asked him about this, and he said, oh, those are just their day cars. I said, their day cars? He said, yes, they are buying in cash at local car dealerships Ferraris and other sports cars.
Oh, yeah.
And a student who just graduated here from Penn State, she's now a Cat-A-Go driver. She told me that one of them when I hear these stories, I said, really? She said one of them has a Rolls Royce parked in the parking lot. So these aren't just urban myths. I'm seeing this right now in the downtown. And one thing I did learn from Nigel and being in the Brexit Party and campaigning with him all last year is don't listen to the network news. Go out and talk to people. So wherever I am, I go and talk to people and I investigate on the ground. I mean, that's one of the things I love to do in politics is just go around and talk to people wherever I am and find out things.
Yeah, they drive everything. Like I've seen them in Range Rovers with aftermarket metallic paint. I've seen them in Rolls Royces, Bentleys, McLarens, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Maseratis. I've seen everything.
Okay, so these aren't just all right.
Yeah, more and more of these cars that are Ferraris and Lambos are appearing all over the place, and not just out of state, rich, affluent, well-to-do, white kids from Jersey or New York or Virginia. It's a lot of international students, and it ain't like it was a few decades ago when the vast majority of your international students were very poor, certainly more poor than the average suburban American who was, let's say, going to grad school, for example. You're talking about a lot of moneyed people, well-to-do, affluent people from certain parts of the Middle East, but mostly from the super cities in China are coming in to places like Penn State and elsewhere. And I'll tell you what, it's for better or worse, it is disproportionately skewing local housing market in State College and the greater State College area, as well as the car insurance market too. Now, with all of what you're seeing around here, you normally would not have seen.
Yeah.
One thing I am noticing.
Go ahead.
Please
One
go
of
ahead,
the
Sean.
buildings I was going to mention too that's brand new, I remember when I was graduating, it's called The Rise. It's on where College meets High Street. Is that one of the buildings that you were seeing?
Yeah, there are three of them. That one, and then the one next to Cosmic Rays building on the corner of Pew and College, and then the one on the corner of College and Atherton.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'm looking at the corner of Pew and College, and we have, I don't know if they have apartments where I'm looking at, but I'll try and find that one.
Well, this evening, as I said, when I was in Cosmic Ray's building, and he lives right on the 8th floor, and I'm looking out the window, and one thing I am noticing in common with all these three buildings now is that all the shades are pulled down, and all the, these high rises, all the shades are pulled down in the rooms. You can't. I mean, like in Cosmic Ray's building on the 8th floor, everybody wants to see the view, right? Well, it's now been obscured by this building next to it, but everybody's got their windows open and their shutters up. But in these buildings, all the shades are pulled down. Now, I hope I don't sound like a conspiracy theorist. I'm just making an observation. I've been walking around a lot at night, looking at all of them. All their shades are pulled down.
It's interesting. State College used to have a building heights restrictions ordinance, so that they wouldn't build any building on campus, let's say taller than Penn Tower, okay, on Beaver Canyon. But then these high rises have gone up, and since then they're all way higher than that. So what happened to those ordinances? Well, obviously, for the right price, any rule can be changed or gotten around. Sure.
That actually came up yesterday in the meeting of the Central County Republicans, that these high rises were violating the city ordinances that used to be in place. And you're raising a good question. How do they get around those? We don't know. But let's say some of them are listening right now. I'll say this: I really truly feel sorry for you, the students from the People's Republic of China. I know you've got enormous wealth. You are in a very, very difficult situation, as are all both the Chinese Americans and also PRC citizens in California. You know very well that if you do anything out of line, your relatives back in mainland China can be jailed, tortured, lose their livelihoods. So what do we do? What do we do? When I was here in September 2019, and I did that interview with you, Sean, I'll call her a defector. You don't hear this much from them. And I met her actually at a dance event on campus. And she was, I spoke a little Chinese with her, and she said, look, we hate our government. We hate it. What can we do? And then she and I arranged a meeting, and she never showed up to the meeting. At the last minute, she canceled.
Ooh.
So we're in a war which hasn't been declared. And how do you fight this kind of a war?
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly like I mean, we've said on the show for a long time, but the real threat's not Russia, it's China. China's growing to become a superpower if they aren't already, and they have been stealing our technology, they've been stealing our intellectual property. They hate us, and they're an authoritarian, totalitarian regime that's like a modern day Nazi Germany. And that's the crazy thing to take in mind here, because they have concentration camps that they're throwing Muslims in, just like the Nazis put Jews in concentration camps and other groups. The Chinese are doing that to the Muslims. It's a modern day Holocaust happening in China, and Penn State is bending over for the modern day Nazi Germany. It's ridiculous. It's so bad, and it's amazing that this is still going on. And we're going to try and fight in every way we can. Of course, we're going to help you guys out. But this is just ridiculous. And I'm looking at these, fancy apartments. Like I found the other one, the Metropolitan. And these are very nice apartments, too. Like, they're expensive as hell.
Sean, luxury. But while they were being built, there were big signs that said luxury student housing. And I thought, wait, students live in luxury buildings? Oh, and actually, let me just tell you, you an anecdote from about a week ago, the one on the corner of College and Atherton. I'm walking around investigating, and right next door to it is just a normal little house, right? Kind of a little bit of a rundown house where students live. And there were 3 girls on the porch, Penn State students. And I started asking them about this building right next to them. And first of all, they said the Trump supporters live there. I said, what? Really? And they said, well, actually, I've heard it's been financed by a Chinese bank. And then they said, hold your breath. I said, but, well, they can vote in our elections. I said,
What?
oh, I'm not making they said to me, but this was about a week after the election. I was talking about the PRC students, and they said, well, they can vote in our elections. And I asked them, I said, did your professors tell you that? And they said no. They said, well, they're international students, and we just assumed that they could because they're here and they're international students. I said, no, they cannot. I said, I had to become a U.S. citizen to vote in elections. I had to go through a long process to become a citizen, and I became a citizen in Philadelphia in the Benjamin Franklin Convention Center, which I'm very proud of. But I had to go through this long process to become a citizen. You don't just get to vote in our elections because you are a student here. And it shocked me that they really believe that you could vote in our elections, and especially now, given what's happening in this state, the Keystone State, with all of this election fraud going on. When you hear something like that, it just adds to all the suspicions.
Yeah, low info voters. That's people say, oh, you got a bandwagon, got to get everybody. No, you don't have to vote. Okay, I'd rather have informed people voting rather than hordes and masses of low info voters, no info voters voting. That's just my personal opinion. And I can't believe that students at a university, American students, would not know or be aware of the fact that you have to technically be a U.S. citizen in order to be able to cast a vote. That should be common elementary knowledge. You should be taught that in grammar school.
Andy, if dead people can vote, dead people can vote in the U.S. presidential election on November 3rd, 2020, well, why not?
I'll tell you what. All you had to do was go online to register to vote for the first time if you weren't registered. And all you had to do was click the button that said, I swear, I attest under penalty of perjury that I am a U.S. citizen. Guess what? Who's checking that against what? You're putting in your, let's say, your state-issued driver's license number or state-issued ID number in there, or your social security number. Who's actually checking that against whatever federal database to actually see, are you in fact a U.S. citizen as opposed to a resident alien or somebody here temporarily or who has a social security number for some reason, whatever. Who does that? And I don't know. And that kind of begs the question about how many people that registered to vote and then could thereby ask and request a mail-in ballot in the same online sign-up session that you register to vote in. How many people necessarily did that who maybe weren't citizens, who maybe otherwise weren't eligible to vote? I don't know. We'll never know the answer to that. But that kind of ties into the election. But could I just make one final point on, you brought up the Muslims and the concentration camps in China, Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Can I just point, and I'm dating myself here, but I was around at Penn State. I came up to Penn State as a student in the 90s. And I can tell you, I watched many years, many generations of successive activists on campus. And I can tell you something interesting. Back in the 90s and the early 2000s, okay, not unlike their predecessors in the 80s who protested, let's say, divestment from South Africa, the Penn State far leftist, we call them anti-corporate liberals, as they were known, in the 90s and early 2000s, all had one big issue. They were opposed to sweatshop labor. They were all protesting against companies like Nike, okay, for having third world sweatshop labor as their means of production so they can produce sneakers and apparel and everything else that was sold, of course, for high US dollars, but made for pennies on the dollar in China and in other places in these appalling factory conditions. The conservative libertarian response to those anti-corporate liberals that would always camp out on Old Main Lawn and the Hub Lawn and go in and storm meetings and stuff like that was always to say, look, if you don't like it, then, vote with your feet and your wallet. Don't buy Penn State apparel made by Nike or whomever. Don't buy it. You can peacefully encourage others to abstain from buying it or boycott it. but you don't have the right to, take over buildings and essentially bully other people from doing that. They have a right to make that choice. You can raise your awareness campaign, but it pretty much ends there. And you can choose to not buy it if you're opposed to it. And of course, the anti-corporate left didn't settle for that. They always had to push the envelope. But then suddenly, at some point in the last 20 years, all of that changed. And suddenly, the anti-corporate left is no longer concerned with sweatshop labor in third world countries or in parts of China, namely how Muslims or any particular subgroup within the population of China's territory is subjugated under appalling conditions. And it's amazing how the anti-corporate left, the far progressive left today, is more in bed with companies like Nike, holding up people like Colin Kaepernick as their spokesperson for their social justice warrior values. Unlike compared to the 90s, when all the anti-corporate liberals on college campuses were all opposed to Nike. So what happened in the last 15, 20 years? What changed? What flipped? That's the interesting question, because now all these companies are totally in bed with communist China, and brings us back to our universities.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my piece for tonight.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Well spoken, Andy.
Yeah.
Well spoken.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, can I just recommend a documentary to listeners, which I saw on PBS about a week ago, and it's Frontline China Uncovered. Frontline China Uncovered. It aired just about a week ago, and it is terrifying. I knew a lot of these things going on, but when the Uyghurs, they're discussed in there, but they have a new computer surveillance system. The company is called Leon Technologies, and in this documentary, they played just a little clip from their advertising, and it said Leon Technologies. It was a translation from Mandarin Chinese. No discord, all harmony. No discord, all harmony. And it's basically this enormous, some combination of systems that predicts that, is observing everyone in society, predicting everyone's behavior. Andy, have you heard of this? Leon Technologies, this super surveillance system, no discord, all harmony.
Yeah, they're working on. It's a Brave New World it's creepy with the way that this is all dovetailing with technology and the surveillance state, and the whole eye in the sky, in the cloud, kind of constantly watching you all the time, and with all our devices and everything going on, this is all coming to a head at the same time.
Now, Andy, was it you, or was it something I heard on NPR? And I remember NPR this week that said that some university here, a U.S. university, has been given a huge contract to develop some kind of super surveillance system. Was it you who told me that? And it's some kind of a contract that has been awarded, either money that's come from the PRC to study this at one of our universities, a super surveillance system.
Oh yeah. I think I came across a link. I have to dig that up. I have to dig that up offhand because that just popped into my mind a moment ago.
Well, this is beyond anything that George Orwell could have conceived of in 1984. I felt terrified, and after having spent so much of my life in Northern California, knowing a lot of these things already, it takes a lot to terrify me, and I felt terrified after watching that.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up too. Is there any other final points we want to bring up before we have some fun? Because I have a special guest I think coming on.
Well, since we're on to the fun, I'm so glad. I have a question for all of your hosts. Did anyone watch the 5.5-hour hearings in the Senate this week with Mr. Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey? Because these free speech issues permeated the entire discussion. I mean, if you want some gripping watching, get the movies this weekend, watch those, right? And one of the things they brought up was Steve Bannon. Let's get to Steve Bannon. He posted a video in which now I haven't watched the video, I know you have, DJ Sean, in which he advocated that Dr. Fauci and the director of the FBI should be decapitated. Right? And that guy, that Senator John Kennedy, He was of the opinion, let people decide for themselves. He actually he went through a very interesting kind of interrogation with both of those two characters. He said to each of them, do you believe everything that you read, see, hear, watch? And they said, no. And he said, well, why not? Why not? And they gave some waffling answers. And then he asked them, Senator Kennedy, do you have advisors telling you what you should be listening to or watching? And Dorsey said no. And Zuckerberg said, well, not externally, but internally, I certainly hope that people are giving me accurate information. And then he said, well, why not let people decide for themselves? He said, what both of you have been doing is censoring certain contents. Sometimes you've been censoring content from the left to please the right, and some other times you've been censoring content from the right to please the left, and everyone is unhappy unhappy with you. He said, but what this shows is basically you two, and he called them it was Chairman Graham eventually called them Huawei West, but Senator Kennedy, he said to them, essentially, you are publishers. And as publishers, that means you no longer get these, maybe Andy, you know more about this. Is it tax exemptions under something, Article 230, something like that? So that came up. But also,
Section 230.
yeah, Section 230. That he pointed out, you're publishers essentially, and you should lose your exemptions. But it was the video about Steve Bannon and the decapitations. And I know we're getting into adult hour and humor. So here's my suggestion, what we should do with those two, Fauci and the director of the FBI. And I know something about this. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, all right? Is we have dominatrixes in San Francisco, right? Send them to San Francisco, okay? Give them a full course of free treatments with some of our top-notch dominatrixes, those who service the global businessmen. So this is not cheap, all right? And after a week or so of being shackled and tied and beaten, I think that those two may think, they may think twice about sending us, or Dr. Fauci, into sending us into another period of lockdown. So Steve Bannon, that's my solution. I think mine is more creative than yours. I think it would work better. What do you guys think? Get the decapitation, send them to the dominatrixes, let them be shackled in isolation in a dungeon for weeks on end. And are they going to come out advocating that we should all get shackled again? I don't think so. No. Right.
Well, actually,
any thoughts about that?
Well, speaking of dominatrixes and some that don't matter, I believe, what was your name? The other guy who was with Cosmic
Andy.
Andy the Annihilator. Now he looks like he wants to annihilate me when I go off on these kind of a tangents.
Let the poor kid speak.
Yes, Andy.
So you mentioned before, like very briefly during your introduction, that you used to have the show, but then it was taken off air for some reason.
Oh, my show? No, I was dismissed from the station in 2012. I'd like to say because the administration finally found a pair of useful idiots who decided to fire me after years of service, mentoring, teaching, instructing, and doing all manner of things on and off the air for the benefit of the station and people there at the time. But that's all right. All things come to an end.
Well, and I can...
No, let him get to his question.
Okay. All right, Master Andy.
It wasn't for any like one particular incident, or was it just like, were you actually like paid by the university for that?
No, I did it all on a volunteer basis, and it wasn't for any kind of on-air incident or anything like that. No, that's why I didn't want to go into that, because it wasn't relevant to what we were talking about.
All right. Yeah, no, I thought there was oh well, I'm so sorry to hear about that though. I know they were pretty, when we were doing, I know like that one particular lady who I'm pretty sure was the same one who screwed over Sean. She was doing it for like, what was it, like 14 years, and she has nothing better to do than like listen to everyone's show and then find things to bitch about, basically.
At that time, yeah, she had been doing her. It's a shame. I'm not going to mention her name or get into it.
Karen.
Yeah. Okay.
DJ Karen.
Yeah. She had been doing her show at the station since about circa 2000, 2001, around that time period, and it's a real shame because, we helped her out a lot with technical issues and any number of things to get her to be able to continue to do her show that she did on weekends. and to do it viably and ethically and in a way so as to garner an audience which benefited the station. And I find it, I kind of take personal offense. I wasn't involved with this, but I have to take offense that she would react in such a way that ends up stifling free speech. That's certainly not what I dropped all my, spent all my blood, sweat, and tears toiling at the station for. I did it so that we could have a forum in which open and critical dialogue and discourse can take place, and different views can be aired and not slapped down and censored because they're afraid that somebody's opinions or somebody's sensibilities might have been frazzled ever so slightly. That was completely not the spirit in which we operated the radio station when I was there. And but none of this comes as a surprise to me, especially how quote unquote woke the world has become, and how timid and unabashedly fearful everyone has become, that they're afraid they're going to be shouted down by somebody every time they say something politically incorrect, or will be shouted down from someone on high. So it's a real shame. So I don't know what the remedy is, and I also think there's a generational gap going on. I don't know how old you guys are, but if you guys were students between 2015 and 20, I could pretty much take a guess. I'm a little older than that. And I don't know how you guys were necessarily raised or in what environment you were raised in, but I can tell you this. The schooling and the environment that the school of hard knocks I was raised in when I was growing up was, if some smart aleck cracked an ethnic joke, and yeah, maybe it came to scraps, maybe it didn't, but usually in the spirit of one-upsmanship, it came back around with like a more racier ethnic joke. And then eventually you kind of became friends and everything was all good. Today, you couldn't even do that. You couldn't even do that. I'm not even saying that you should do that. All I'm saying is you couldn't do that. Today, everybody clams up and shuts up and is afraid to fart the wrong way, because if they do, they're afraid that somebody's offended, and oh my God, what's going to happen if they're offended? And I'm going to be lectured and reprimanded and sent to sensitivity training and on and on and on. It is such a bizarre world that we're in today. I can't even comprehend it. I didn't grow up in that time, so I don't even know how to comport or relate to that. You know what I mean? There's just no sense of good faith and esprit de corps among people, or for that to even be able to develop among people when you're living in this kind of a world. I just don't get it.
Oh, I totally agree, and that's why we have our next guest coming on that I know, Cosmic Rebecca, you and him could have a lot of fun going back and forth.
Oh.
He's someone...
Adult hour.
Yeah, we could have some adult hour. We could have some whatever you want.
Thank you, DJ Sean. Whatever I want. Now you're talking my language.
Of course, because we, like Andy and I just said, we're all about fun. We're all about, as I call it, shooting the shit, going back and forth, just having a good time with saying things that 20, 30 years ago you'd be allowed to say, but now it's like, ooh, it's a little edgy. But this particular special guest, when he came on and called into our radio show, he knew the high standards that we're being held to today, and he pushed the boundaries and envelopes for all the good reasons. So I would like to welcome back somebody that's been a loyal listener on all those long trucking drives, all those ice road trucker days. Big Al, the floor is yours.
Big Al, I'm excited.
Hi.
Hey, Big Al, I remember you called in last year when I did an interview on The Real News with DJ Sean, my Brexit Party campaigning interview. Quite an accent.
Thank you, ma'am.
Are you there, DJ Al?
How's it going?
I think you were the one who wanted to take me out to a bar in the downtown after I said I was trained in martial arts.
Yeah, I still do.
I remember that.
Well, Big Al, how's your life been? Have you and Cosmic Rebecca been talking since we last talked, or how's it been?
Since she kind of disappeared on me.
Really?
Wondering where she was at.
Well, Al, I was in Britain a lot of 2019, and back there in the fall campaigning with Brexit Party for the general election. So sadly, we never got to go on our date in the downtown.
Tragedy.
That's a shame. Well, Big Al, I know you have a tough life on the road, but You know, have you ever like Cosmic Rebecca was talking about some of this like dominatrix stuff going down, like California? Like, could you enlighten us?
not my
Francisco.
attention.
What was that?
That's San, Fran-
Well,
that, let me just put
dominatrix
that's San
stuff, yeah,
Francisco,
you
the
talking
Bay
about that
Area, and that's where
dominatrix
Kamala
stuff,
Harris
whatever, that got
hails
my
from.
attention.
Sorry. What?
Kamala Harris, the city of the dominatrixes.
Okay, Kamala Harris.
Okay, just to clarify the geographical context there. Yes.
Gotcha. Big Al, what do you
Go
have to
on,
say
Al.
to that? You were saying something, we didn't quite catch it.
No, you got my attention talking about that dominatrix stuff.
Not Cosmic Al. In the years since we had a dialogue on air, you seem to have lost your voice. Or is it hearing my voice?
Maybe he has
What?
a coronavirus.
What you talking about?
Oh, we
A
lost
corona.
Big Al. Where'd Big Al go? Oh no, you might scare him away. Let's get him back on. I'm gonna text him and get him back on. But you know, look, he's got long days on the roads. I mean, he's probably doing a lot of, you know, I mean, he might be drinking, smoking. I don't know what he's gotten into, but you know, it's a rough ride for him. Oh, he's back. Did you have like a bad connection driving down the road there?
Yeah, there's a little bit of a bad connection.
Yeah, it happens.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear you, DJ Al. So nice to
Well, I
hear
mean,
that.
I
That gruff.
ain't no DJ, huh?
All right. Driver Al.
Big old trucker.
A big old trucker, Al. All right.
You're the best guest.
Al, I wish DJ TK were participating in this discussion because his growls outdo yours if you've ever listened to his show. He was talking about on the election special about how there's nothing more horrifying than politics, and I really couldn't imitate him. But you should call into his show, and I'll just do a plug to his show. It's tomorrow night on the Lion 90.7 FM. You can listen on the Lion.fm, and it's from 5 to 8 p.m. Altered State. He'll pull out parts of your brain that you had no idea were there. He'll scramble them up with the bizarre aliens. Sometimes it sounds like aliens chattering, you know, trying to get into your head, and then you'll come out better after 3 hours later. It's so much, yeah. So tomorrow, 5 to 8 p.m., the Line 90.7 FM, DJ TK, Altered State. Sadly, I will not be there.
Hold on.
I won't be there, and I will never be there again.
Well, yeah,
Hey.
that's what I'm saying. Like, what?
I won't be there ever again.
Why are you talking about that? So I don't give a damn about that station anymore. You ain't on that station.
All right.
I don't give a goddamn.
Oh, thank you, Al. I love devotion. You know, when men show me devotion and adoration like that, oh my gosh. But I understand that because after Nigel was fired from his radio station.
Shit, I'll give you all the devotion you want, girl.
Big Al.
Well,
pulling no punches tonight.
Al. I'm sorry, girl. It's just such a boring everyday way to describe me. I wish we could play the clip from the radio interview I did earlier this evening on iHeart, because there was a clip in it from DJ Farrow, who used to do Jam 91 at Penn State on the Line 90.7 FM, and he said, you probably heard it, DJ Sean. He said, "You've banned Cosmic Rebecca. How could they possibly ban Cosmic Rebecca? That's like banning Bambi." That's like banning Bambi. I was like, oh wow, I'm Bambi. I'm the Bambi who can kick butt and kick walls if I feel inclined. But I was just so pleased when he said I was Bambi. How dare they ban Bambi? So, girl's a little bit boring compared with Bambi. What do you think, Sean?
Well, DJ TK in the chat says, altered straight after all that dominatrix conversation.
Okay.
I'm telling you,
DJ
it's nice
TK.
and spicy here tonight here on Real News. But, you know, I totally agree. Like, I can't believe they would ban you because, like, you're...
I know.
Like,
I'm so sweet.
What did you wouldn't hurt a fly, right, Big Al?
Well,
Damn right, girl.
No, I don't hurt flies. I don't hurt flies. I only threaten to hurt anyone who might like to throw a milkshake at my leader, that person I'm going to hurt. Oh, Sean, since we're on the topic of hurting and kicking, etc., can I tell a story from campaigning with Nigel and the Brexit Party last November 2019? Want to hear it? This is the highlight. The highlight of my campaigning season is we had a rally at a boxing club, and we had a very famous boxer there, a British African guy, and he and Nigel did a few rounds in the ring, and of course Nigel won. And at the end of the rally, Nigel was doing an interview next to the boxing ring. And they had all these hanging bags, etc. Now, having been trained in martial arts, I just could not resist it. And of course, I thought, okay, we're going to have a rally in a boxing club. I'm going to wear my t-shirt. I'm going to put my hair up. I want to make sure I can get physical if I need to. So after the rally's over, not that kind of physical, Al, unless you like dominatrixes. So Nigel's standing there giving an interview with the press, and I'm about, at most 10 feet away, and there's a hanging bag, and I just start kicking. I start kicking the BALLS. And bags don't even have BALLS, but if I was imagining that the swinging bag did have BALLS, and I was just kicking the life out of it. And that was so much fun. And eventually one of the photographers came over and took some photos of me kicking the life out of that bag. But I have to say that was... And Nigel's just 10 feet away giving an interview with the press. He was completely unfazed.
Sounds like you got some strong legs, man.
I do. And I think at that point he was just so used to some of these kinds of things that I do. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. But I did get some tips from a guy, one of the Brexit Party members, porters, who was standing a few feet away, and he came up to me and he did that. What's that martial arts where the emphasis is on kicking? Oh, Taekwondo. That's a Taekwondo. I studied karate, but he studied Taekwondo. And he came up to me and he said, look, he told me to adjust my leg. He said, you've got to make sure that your kicks are coming more from your hips.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're doing it too much from your torso. You got to kick more from the hips.
You need the power.
And that really helped a lot. Yeah, exactly. You need the power. So that helps a lot. And, I'm so happy I'm telling this story because, boy, this is getting me amped for the spring elections. We're going to be having local elections all over Britain in early May. And if you want to read about how we're rebranding our party and what our platform is, you can look at the article from the 13th of November, the Daily Telegraph, and you can go online. It's probably, I think it's the dailytelegraph.co.uk, and there's a photo of Nigel, and you can read about what we're going to do, focus on policing, law and order, low taxation, encouraging small businesses and entrepreneurship. I'm excited. I just really cannot wait. I'll tell you this, I was supposed to travel back to Britain the day after the election, November 4th. I had a flight booked from Boston to London. And in the afternoon on November the 3rd, election day, I started having these awful, and remember, this was a day and a half after my interview with DJTK. I started having awful feelings, terrible. And I was sitting there at our 8, because I was volunteering locally for the Trump Victory team, and I was at
What was that, Alex?
Can you tell us about your experiences with that over here? I'm interested.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, this might be a good way to segue into this. So, yeah, I was there at our Trump Victory HQ, and I was doing phone banking, and I said to my team captain, I'll call him Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay. Captain Marvel. I said to him, and he's laid back. He's like you, Sean. He's pretty laid back. So he wasn't fazed by any of my cosmic intensity. So I said to him, Captain Marvel, I'm supposed to go back to Britain tomorrow, November 4th. I really thought that this election would be done and dusted on the 3rd, and I'd be off to Britain. Back to staying at the YMCA. That's another story. I stayed at the YMCA most of 2019. No kidding.
Wow. Hey, Sam in the chat.
I didn't know they still allowed you to do that over there. I used to work at one, and they never had any sort of lodgings where I was at.
Yeah, some of them, not all of them have lodgings, but some of them do. But I am digressing. So yeah, and that I just was having terrible feelings, and I canceled. I went over to the library near our HQ, and I canceled my flight back to Britain. And lo and behold, I'm glad I did cancel it now because, of course, we're in the middle of this election fraud debacle in the Keystone State. There's still a lot going on. Sean, you probably know quite a bit about that yourself. And then, of course, 2 days ago, I find out that I have been banned. So had I gone to Britain on that flight, I wouldn't be here doing these interviews tonight, first on iHeart and now on your channel, Versa Media. So that was a good decision. It was a good decision. Yeah, in fact, I changed my flight. I'm supposed to go back to Britain on Saturday now, next Saturday, but I don't. No, my gut says I cannot go yet. I cannot go. And also, I'm supposed to start work at a ski resort in a few days.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, what's the story with that? I never saw you as a ski aficionado.
Well, I'm not a ski instructor, but no, I absolutely love to ski. And I don't know what I like more, campaigning with the Brexit Party and kicking bags in boxing clubs and standing on chairs and leading rallies, or shooting down a fast slope of ice.
Ooh.
I don't know what's more fun. But usually what I do, and actually Andy the Annihilator got a little irritated with me earlier, but how I go about living is I usually have a lot of different possibilities I'm throwing out there, avenues, pathways, and then I just follow my gut. Usually throwing a lot of different things out there, and then I just follow my gut.
Sounds like what Big Al does.
It works out.
I follow her gut too.
You guys should go skiing one of these days. I mean, the snow's starting to come down soon, so
it is starting to come down. Yeah.
You know what they say when the weather outside's frightful.
That's right. That's right. Go skiing. But now let's get to Donald Trump, actually, because one of the key issues for Pennsylvania voters in this election, now Trump supporters, apparently, was Donald Trump's personality. And what I love about Donald Trump's personality is he kind of gave me I felt like he gave me the right. He sort of affirmed the kind of person I've always been and have gotten definitely a little bit of flack about throughout my life, especially because I'm a woman. And I understand that. I mean, that's just part of our culture in many, many societies. Women don't get to act like men. And I know you still don't. I know this. If you're a woman, even if you have something of a Donald Trump inside you, as I do, you have to cloak that in the guise of, a nice skirt and maybe some lipstick and things like that. But that's what I love about Donald. He has a vision, and he just does it. He sees his vision over there a few feet away, and he just goes for it. And that's how I live. And it works. Everything seems to work out for me as long as I follow my gut. It's when I start overthinking that things go awry.
Big Al, do you, because I can tell, like, you probably have some thoughts on this sort of thing, but how do you think women should be like? Do you think they should be like how Cosmic Rebecca says, or do you think differently?
Well, I'm not saying how they should be. I'm just saying
or how it is, I should say.
Yeah, Sean, I'm sorry to interrupt you there. I'm just going to reparse that as, what does Al think of women who are like Donald Trump type women, or... Oh, that's not okay. A real woman with real female parts, but of a bit of the Donald Trump inside of her.
Yeah, what do you think of that, Big Al?
I like women with a little bit of Big Al inside of them.
By the way, I have to tell all of you that at a certain point during this conversation, now look, Andy the Annihilator is, I'm sorry to say this, Sean, but he's the best political host we've ever had at Penn State. He made the station in its heyday. But sometimes when I start, we get into these adult realms in the late night discussions, he excused himself a little while ago for a break with Tucker Carlson, on Fox News. So
that's okay. You and Al have more time together then.
Okay.
Hey, more fun. We can have as much fun as you want right now. You can go as crazy as you want, and I know Big Al here.
Bullshit over here.
We have what?
Now wait, everyone, hold it. I just want to point out that though you can say, now of course we're on YouTube, FCC regulations do not apply. You can say what you like, but please be respectful, gentlemen, that I am in the Brexit Party
Of course.
and had an English mother, all right? And I have certain standards to uphold, and I have to uphold them wherever I am. So I tend to couch things in, we'll say, more English terms. So when I did DJ TK's show and we were talking about the various sex scandals to do with Joe Biden and Donald Trump, I referred to the offending members as the offending members being the members of their bodies as masculine reproductive appendages.
Whoa.
And that's all right.
Big
I
words.
can say that. I can say, but no, they're not that big. Masculine. Okay.
Are you
That's
saying Trump's
bigger.
that big?
What?
You just say that they weren't that big. Maybe
You
Joe
raised
Biden. I don't think Trump. He's got so many kids. He's got to take over.
Raise a good point. Now I'll tell you exactly what I said about the two of them. I said I'm tired of women talking about these sex scandals. Most of the negativity I heard about the sex scandals was actually coming from white middle class women, not from anyone else. And what I said about that was, I really, I've heard the Trump supporters go on and on about Joe Biden and his, clawing Lolitas. And I even heard the Biden supporters themselves, a friend of mine, saying, oh, it's disgusting. But he's slightly less evil than Donald Trump, so I'm going to vote for Joe Biden because he's slightly less evil. And I said to her, now, wait a moment, Donald Trump's at least is having relations, or in the past had relations with adult women, supermodels, no less, adult super.
He doesn't date high schoolers or anything like that.
Exactly. But I just dismissed it. I said, look, this is a serious election. I don't want to talk about their activities with their masculine reproductive appendages. Have done with it. Now, I wish DJ TK would call in. Do you have a phone number? Is there any way people can call in, DJ Sean?
We do not have a phone number, but if DJ TK wants to join us, there's a link for the Discord server in the description where you can join us. I know that's how Big Al found us and how a lot of other people have found us. Just click that link in the description.
Oh shoot, I see that. Oh, he's not on, actually. He can't hear us. I was about to say we have another guest, but
he's coming on. He's in the middle of a phone call, he said, but we have another guest coming on. But DJ TK does say in the chat, the blood clots, yes. Rebecca, ? That ski resort's going to kill you.
My blood clot. Oh yeah, I'm glad you asked that, DJ TK, because yes, a few years ago I had one of my several experiences of almost dying.
Whoa.
So, whoa. Why, does that excite you? A woman who died and has come back to life. But yeah, I found myself in the ER. This was in March 2017. I was working at a ski resort, and the same ski resort that I'm going to go back to next week if I decide not to go to Britain. And I found myself in the ER, and they'd sent me to a CT scan, and the doctor comes in and says to me, I'm amazed you're still alive. He said, you have multiple pulmonary, multiple pulmonary embolisms in your lungs. You must be superhuman. Now, this is very relevant to my getting involved in politics, and it's too bad the Andy the Annihilator is still listening to Tucker Carlson, because he asked me, how did I become involved in politics? So the ER doctor said to me, wow, it's amazing that you've been driving up and down to high altitudes, long days, 12, 14-hour days. Like I'd work for 10, 12, I'd have to get up in the morning at 5 a.m., crack the car out of ice, 10, 12-hour days, and I'd ski for an hour or two at night and go to bed at 1 a.m. The doctor said, it's amazing you've been doing this for the last few months with these. You must be superhuman. And that got to me, and I started thinking, oh, really? Wow, if I'm superhuman, I'm going to make the most of this.
Yeah.
I'm going to make the most of this. So that sent me on a journey, which started with my going on tour, sort of the entourage of a very, very famous artist. I won't name him, but he's actually the world's most collected living artist. And yeah, I went to a lot of his events, private parties, if you can believe this, in Key West, because I was on the art budget. I actually stayed at the Eisenhower. It was once the Eisenhower Presidential Complex in Key West, Florida, and it's now been split up into various apartments and luxury condos. So I had some chaperones, and I got to stay a very nice couple from the southern part of the United States,
Wait,
and
they
I got
gave
to,
you
I got.
chaperones? You said they gave you chaperones?
They were my show. Well, this was for. Hold on a moment. It's called Fantasy Fest Key West. I'm guessing they didn't have it this year, but it's every October in Key West, Florida, and I won't describe it. Just go on fantasyfest.com and look at some of the videos. And I had been to Mardi Gras. I've been to Mardi Gras in New Orleans one year, and I've never seen anything like this. So I'm not shocked by too much. Now, why am I talking about this? Oh, yes. So I was told I was superhuman, and that sent me, I basically decided, okay, I'm going to go down and show this painting I did to this very famous artist at his event in Southern California. And people said to me, wait, you don't even know him. You're going down to the land of the millionaires in Orange County, and you're just going to show up and show him your painting and tell him that you want to work for him. I said, yes. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So after a year of that in 2017, 2018, then I started. Well, you heard this story on when you interviewed me about a year ago. But then I started listening. Of course, I was listening to the British Parliament because I'm a Brexiteer, and then I was listening to the EU in Brussels, and so eventually I started listening to Nigel's show. And if I hadn't gone, as part of the entourage of this artist to many of his events in 2017 and 2018, I don't think I would have been able to just jump into British politics and just do it fearlessly and confidently.
Mm-hmm.
So, but had I not had that near-death experience, definitely. I mean, I've always had a bit of, a lot of fearlessness and just, okay, I want to do this. I'm going to do this. But that really, when I was told you must be superhuman, since then, sky's the limit.
Yeah, well, that's a powerful story, and I'd like to ask the rest of people here, Big Al, did you have any near-death experiences on your ice road trucking expeditions?
I mean, I had a few.
Oh, really? Do you want to tell us
one of the ones when I was last on your show, I heard Cosmic Rebecca's voice, and I damn near wrecked my fucking semi.
Really?
I really hope I'm going to have the same effect on male voters in Britain when I go campaigning with the Brexit Party in the spring, right? As long as they vote for us.
Well, so I have a question about that too. So, now once Brexit happens, what's going to happen to the Brexit Party?
Very good question. Well, as I mentioned, I was a volunteer for the Trump Victory Campaign in recent weeks. So I'll be honest, I've been having a hard time splitting my brain. One half on one side of the Atlantic and the other half on this side of the Atlantic. So I haven't been as up on British politics lately. But here's a word for you, Al. Brino. Are you familiar with that acronym, Sean? Brino.
I am not. Are you familiar with that, Big Al?
Brexit in name only.
It's like a rhinos here.
Brexit in name only. And Sean, I don't know if you've been following Nigel's channel on YouTube, but since he was terminated at his radio station for his comments about statues, he now has a YouTube channel, and if you could just go to Nigel Farrell's channel on YouTube and click on videos, and you can watch a lot of his videos about what's going on in Britain. But rather than say anything, I'll refer people back to the article from the Daily Telegraph, November 13th, and you can read it online, in which Nigel talks about how we're rebranding our party. We're now going to be the party of reform to do what conservative government that isn't turning out to be very conservative just doesn't have the guts to do.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, do you have any thoughts on that, Big Al?
Hey, ma'am, do you like to travel, ma'am?
Do I like to travel?
Mm-hmm.
Do I like to travel?
Mm-hmm.
I hope so.
I love to travel. I love living out of a suitcase. Every time I'm in a different, cheap hotel, I go down to with my ice bucket. I go down to the ice machine. I get this huge bucket of ice. I fill up ice bags and put ice on my various injuries from all of my travels and ski crashes,
Ooh.
et cetera, et cetera. And I do yoga and I read books. Oh, and I'm writing a book. I'm still writing my book, My Brexit, my memoir about campaigning. Unfortunately, the American politics in the last month or two has hijacked my brain, and I haven't been writing my book. So I'm going to get back to writing my book. I'm just going to have to let it go. Say, okay, look, former Mayor Giuliani, he's taken over. He's going to get it done. Maybe, Sean, you can say something about the current state of the election here in the Keystone State. But I'm going to have to let it go and get back to writing my book, My Brexit.
Well, yeah. Whoa! You just mentioned you're writing a book. Yeah, that's big news. I'm interested. Like, what's the cover going to be?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Are you going to use?
It's just come to me. I know. I have a vision. What's the cover going to be? Have an image of maybe I'll do the drawing, the painting myself because I'm also a painter. How about an image of me in my turquoise blue skirt and my Brexit Party top, kicking
Well, I was gonna say, I think you should use
a bag in a boxing club, and Nigel standing a few feet away doing a press interview. My Brexit.
I was gonna say you should be like in front of your painting of Donald Trump, because I think that's a very beautiful painting.
Yeah, you have on your Twitter banner.
Thank you, Phil. And it's now on my business card, and I've been passing out a lot of those. And I've got a bit of a campaigning debt and hotel bill debt, etc. So I've got to get back to painting and selling more Donald Trump.
Did you hear that, Cosmic Rebecca?
And I will tell people this, that Nigel.
Big Al really loves the idea you're pitching for your cover.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you for asking the question because I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, I've got to get back to selling my painting and selling my Donald Trump portraits. And of course, Nigel wants all of us to be entrepreneurs. Basically, we want to dismantle this global system. And who are they again? Let's read them out. The globalists, mask fascists, lockdown fanatics, statue decapitators, and slave speech preachers. Basically, we're going to bring them down, and we want a world, a populist world where we all have our own small businesses. And again, I suggest going to Nigel Farage's channel, and you can read more about the different things he's doing and get on board with that, because we want as many Americans. We want this big alliance. Let's cut to the big picture. The grand alliance between all of the English-speaking countries of the world, United States, Britain, all of our former colonies. So that is the big vision.
You're suggesting a new world order, basically?
You got it. New world order. And the new world order is anti-globalists, no masks, no lockdown. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, here's my new world order. Here's Cosmic Rebecca's new world order. And, right?
Yeah,
no more globalism. No more mask wearing, no more lockdowns. Every statue gets to stay standing. Right? And everybody gets to say what they like. Not anything. Now, of course, if you're in Britain, you've got to toe the line a bit, because the British, there's much more of an emphasis on politeness and civility. And I know the difference. I may have talked about this in my interview last year, that I've got two separate brains, a British speak brain and an American speak brain. And I know the difference. And sometimes I've made mistakes with those two. But if you're in Britain and you're being offensive, you just got to couch it a little bit differently. But that's basically the new world order, and we're all going to have our own small businesses. I was talking about that because I have a Patreon account, and I've already set that up, and I'm going to be selling my paintings, and you'll be able to watch my interviews. It's like my MAGA Girls interview, etc., and other content on my Patreon page. So on another show of yours, Sean, I could come back and tell people about that, because of course you want to help me to make money so that I can continue campaigning. Course, yes, because we're all on the same side. We're campaigning for the most important thing that there is, freedom.
Absolutely. So it's all about. Looks like we have another fellow traveler here joining us on the line here, DJ TK. How are you doing?
Hello, gentlemen. How are you doing tonight?
We're
I'm
doing
so thrilled
great.
to hear your voice, DJ TK. I am thrilled.
This is DJ TK, Tim Kine, the Wired, and I'm here to converse with you all. How are you doing?
Now, I'm fabulous. Now, DJ TK, since you're on, Andy the Annihilator walked out on me when I started talking about, I think, the San Francisco dominatrixes, etc. But now that you're on,
I laughed so hard at that. Oh my god.
now that you're on, I think he might be interested in return to the issues of free speech. So I'm gonna go bring him back. All right, one moment.
Well, as we wait, Big Al, do you have anything to say to all that? Wise words.
Yeah, I was just digging what she was saying.
I think we all agree with her on that one, especially with fighting for the movement at large for freedom. Hopefully Sam joins us soon, but yeah,
I was excited. She was talking about a picture with herself in a skirt. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I was really interested in that New World Order stuff. That's that's something interesting.
Yeah, that's what I want to dive into. I've heard many interpretations of what the New World Order is, like the globalist version, but I haven't heard of these revised versions of the New World Order or the cosmic New World Order.
It's called the Great Reset, I think, unless it's something specific from for Rebecca.
Yeah,
she had like the counterpoint to the Great Reset New World Order. I think. I hope.
Hello, DJ TK. Hello, DJ Phil, Sean, Al. I'm back, and DJ Andy the Annihilator. I think for this week he said all he wanted to say, but hopefully he'll come back on a future show.
that's
And
okay.
DJ TK, how are you tonight?
Okay. Yeah, got off of work early, got my shopping done, got my grocery shopping done, and listening to this fine radio show and working on my show for tomorrow night.
Excellent. I'll be listening.
Nice.
I won't be there, but I'll be listening.
Yeah, we used to do
Of course you
real
won't be there.
news on the line every Saturday when we were there for about 3 years, I think we did.
Hell out of your show. I didn't actually know about it until the second year they were doing it, but I ended up appreciating the heck out of your show.
Awesome, thank you so much. Did you hear any of our interviews when we had cool guests on?
Oh my god, I am so out of touch with almost everything that I just they still have your liner with Milo Yiannopoulos.
Yes.
In the iMedia picks, just because your show isn't on anymore doesn't mean that that's gone. So
That's awesome. Yeah, that was one of our big ones. Like I was mentioning, on our channel we have the rest of them, but we got Milo, Mike Cernovich, Sargon of Akkad, Hunter Avalon, Jack Posobiec, and a few others I'm probably forgetting.
And Styx, that was a big one that you screwed. Well, not you, as a radio screwed up.
Yeah, we were doing our Styx interview, and when we came in, or we didn't come in, I should say, we were outside and the station was locked. And it was during the summer semester, and so it was because my swipe access didn't get refreshed or something, or the hub wiped all the swipe accesses, so I couldn't get in.
After Sandusky happened, they got really, really hardcore on making sure that all of that stuff was followed to the letter. So blame Sandusky for yet another bit of horse shit. Oh right, I'm sorry.
We can be uncensored.
Good, thank you. I hate having to censor myself. Oh my god.
That was the hardest part on the radio.
Chinese virus, Kung Flu virus, and can I recall DJ TK when we were talking about all the...
How about COVID, Rebecca? God.
DJ TK, recall the conversation we had in which we decided the ultimate name for this virus is the anti-Arctic virus, because the Arctic is the only place where the virus has not taken hold. The anti-Arctic virus, because it hates the Arctic. So you can't say where it's from, but you can say where it has not hit. that's all right. The anti-Arctic virus.
It is the absolute perfect, you know.
I'm pretty sure that one lady wouldn't have had a problem if you call it the Trump virus. She probably would have applauded you, but you can see where, you know, where they're getting their money from. You know, you call out the Chinese, you know, there you go. Your show's done.
That's a good point.
I it's not that I want to be a coward about this. I need to be careful to not, you know, cast aspersions on anybody simply because I still have a show on this station right now and I don't want to lose it yet.
Hey, that's fine. We've been in that situation too.
That may change. You never know, because I now have this strike on my head, and you know, what are you supposed to do in a situation like that? Really?
Okay.
That's okay. We can fight on the ground here for you. I definitely know what you mean because we've had some hairy days ourselves.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, man, you need to go and, like, if you can appeal it, I would absolutely try to appeal that. If, you know, I would fight that, because to me, I heard the story and I don't feel like, honestly, like, you know, Sean, he had, you know, back when we had the show, we had a similar snafu, ironically with the same sort of ethnic group, but you know, they didn't even screw him over that hard when he had that, and it was a lot worse with him.
Yeah.
You know, like Rebecca had actually clued me in about that situation with you guys over the course of this conversation, over the course of the last couple of weeks when she had reached out to you after the point, and I wasn't aware of that at all, and I was just like, ugh, really?
They made a big deal about it too. Apparently that went up to Penn State, like higher ups as well too, and it was a totally unintentional, like, double entendre that just came at the wrong freaking time. It was like, oh god. Because I mean, I'm not a perfect speaker. I try to be, but like, it was so funny.
Wait. Nobody is. Like, you're on this. You're in the spot. You're in the situ. You know, you're talking. Like, my mouth has just started rambling, but you start talking, and then the stuff falls out of your mouth, and then sometimes it's not what you intended to be, and then you can't take it back. It's out on the air. What are you supposed to do, man?
So I'm sorry to intrude, gentlemen, but I'm going to have to depart now because we'll just say this operational venue is closing up for the night.
That's okay. So, well, Big Al's going too. I don't know if you saw his message in the general chat.
And I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm very sorry, TJTK, that I won't be able to converse more with you on this show because we won't be, sadly, anymore at the line 90.7 FM. But I will be listening tomorrow night, and I look forward to hearing you, DJ TK, and all of you on Dexter Mall's show, Versa Media, next week.
All right, thank you. Good night, Cosmic Rebecca.
Yeah, take it easy.
Good night, everyone.
And like I said, Big Al left you a message in general if you want to read that too.
A semi with a bed in the back we can share. We should really go traveling sometime, Rebecca.
Oh, he's a hoot.
He's a character.
I love that guy.
He's a legend, an absolute legend. I mean, he called him once, and he just had fun.
What was DJ Al suggesting just as I was talking? What was he suggesting just as I was attempting to depart?
Cosmic Rebecca, we should really go traveling sometime. I got my semi with a bed in the back we can share.
Right, I've got my semi with a bed in the back we could share.
See, you don't need a hotel. It's great, right?
Good Lord.
Well, one of the local Republicans has offered to teach me how to shoot out on the local range, and apparently I'm going to be trained in how to use a model of a World War I English rifle.
Ooh.
So
Big Al's gonna have some protection.
All right, well, good night, gentlemen.
The Enfield.
Yeah, thanks, Rebecca.
Good night.
Be safe out there in the ether.
Okay.
Oh
man.
I miss that radio station, man.
Me too. I do miss it too. I told you I miss it. As much as I love the uncensoredness of this YouTube shit, man, I miss the radio.
I miss the radio too, just because like I felt special when I was on the radio as one of your guests.
Introduce yourself, Sam. This guy doesn't know who the hell you are.
What's up, Sam?
Hello, Tim. My name is Sam, and I'm one of the part-time co-hosts here on Versa Uncensored.
It's very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And I am DJ TK, and thank you for having me on. This isn't how I was anticipating spending my Saturday night, but this is fun.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing else you can do during these coronavirus times.
Yeah.
Dude, Big Al was a hoot.
Oh
Yes.
man, he was
That
he
was-
was firing on all cylinders tonight. I mean, that guy is like, then that's why we say we love the radios, because we'd have just so many funny people call in. Like, we've had Sam was one of our first guests. I think, yeah, Styx was technically our first, but Sam was the follow up, then Trent. And so he was one of our first guests. On our first night, we had like proper special guests. So it was really cool having that. And then we had other people that would just randomly call in that was really fun and funny. But Big Al was one of the ones that we got, and Cosmic Rebecca was on, because the phones were just going off the hook that night. Like, a lot of people were interested in her psychic abilities and all these other things that they were calling in. And Big Al was one of our favorite guests. And so we had to bring him back, had to have a reunion. It was only appropriate, and thankfully he had a decent
There's
enough
no way in
turnout.
hell he was saying no. There was no way in hell. Yeah, he was like, he was crazy. Like, he was just like crazy about her. I don't know what the fuck it was, man. It was just like,
Something.
I don't know. He just call it like we were like the whole time, like while he called in. So he called in on the radio station when she was on, and he was just like, he was saying the craziest stuff. Man, I couldn't even believe it.
And
Like,
she
we
handled
were
it
all-
great, you know?
Yeah, no, she handled it. I mean, I think he kind of went over the top today, but like,
Yeah, he's
I
pushing
mean,
the envelope. That's what we do on
he's
Real
definitely
News.
pushing the envelope. Yeah, but I mean, you
Well,
know,
yeah, that particular show was legendary. Rebecca told me a lot about that one, and it sounded like it went completely off the rails in the best possible way. It's the kind of thing you absolutely it's the kind of content you want to have when you're having a show like that. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yes.
I will say, from someone who was listening to this stream for a while, it kind of reminded me of like old, not as raunchy, but it kind of reminded me of like an old like Howard Stern or an O&A, you know, radio style show, just where you would get like, you know, wacky characters like Cosmo, Nick, Rebecca, and then Big Al, you know, calling in, right? So
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, that was usually the exception when we got stuff like that. Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
every day we get like awesome, like interesting people. Like, most of the time we wouldn't hear anyone, but then sometimes like we had the 14 points dude. That was pretty funny.
Oh,
But,
we were
like,
laughing our asses off at that guy. Like, to tell that story, and the clip's on YouTube. Like, we were talking about like all this sort of stuff related to immigration and how countries are made up. And we had this caller call in that started talking about like the gross domestic happiness of a country and how you should be measuring it by that rather than GDP. And he was just going off and off, and he's like, you know, when you start talking about, you know, who these countries are and what they're for and what people live there, you were close to reciting the 14 points. And we just started dying because what he meant to say and he didn't say was the 14 word, which is a white supremacist like pledge or something.
Oh no!
I know.
he fucked it up and he basically like was a Woodrow Wilson unironically.
Yeah, he invoked Woodrow Wilson's 14 points. I'm like, dude, you had the wrong thing. He was trying to accuse us of racism and white supremacy, and he cited the wrong fucking thing. He said 14 points instead of 14 words. We were dying because we all know what that is, because not because we're white supremacists, but because we've heard it before. Like, we know what it is. It's like when you know what the Klan is. Like, we know what that is, but he didn't. It was just hilarious.
Who else did we have? Do we have any other funny people? Like, we had the flat earther people who called us, but that was a troll. But you know, it was pretty
They were
funny.
quality trolls.
So I'll
Wait,
give 'em that.
you had like legit flat Earth people?
No, it was a troll eventually, but they They were pretty convincing. I'll give them that.
Yeah, we had these people, Sam, that would call and they'd be like, they were saying like, yeah, I kind of agree with you on some things, but what I really disagreed with you guys on was when you said that about the Earth. Like, I know it's gonna sound crazy, but the Earth is flat. And we were like, okay, let's roll with this. And he's like, yeah, like, when you're flying in a plane and like you go from, let's say, like here to China. Like, have you been in a plane? I'm like, yeah. He's like, notice how the horizon, it's flat the whole way. It never curves. It never changes at all. And the plane keeps going straight. How's that happen? How's that work? The Earth must be flat. Am I right?
I once had a guy who like called into my show, and he legit thought that the Earth was flat, and like I'm not into that stuff at all. So I was playing along, like I was fascinated to like tell me more, and I mean part of me was fascinated, right? And then like he's like, so you believe me? I'm like, no. And we're pretty close to out of time, but thanks for calling. So
yeah,
it's amazing. It's amazing how like when you like I'd like to. One of the things I always like doing is I like to pretend like I'm interested to see how far it goes.
Yeah, that's what we did.
Oh my god! So you say the Earth is flat? Oh my god! Please tell me more. Like, yeah, and then they just completely go off.
I find it utterly fascinating about all of those flat Earth people, especially specifically the ones who go out and craft very careful scientific experiments to demonstrate that the Earth is absolutely flat. They always show exactly the opposite, and it's fascinating to see them trying to justify it beyond that point. It's like, well, wait, no, that's not, no, that's not right. It's like, oh. You're a fascinating individual, sir or ma'am. It's 2020. Come on.
Well, we had this. I had one of my friends on this one time, a flat earther called, and my friend was a engineering major, and he knew a lot of science and shit. And this one flat earther called, and he was like citing like Newton's laws and like all these other scientific principles, and like some of them went way over my head. And I was like, I actually can't debate this guy. I just know the Earth is round, and my friend just started like drilling him on the science, and it was really funny because these people, like, they do their research. Even if they're a troll, like, he did his fucking homework. Like, he wasn't fucking around. Like, he knew what he was doing. He's like, yeah, I have evidence that the Earth is flat. It's right here. I can cite the science.
Well, now, DJ TK, how long have you had your show around for? I'm just kind of curious how everything's going with that.
Altered State itself started back in 2013. Before that, I was the staff head and also main DJ because weirdly enough, electronic music it's a little bit difficult to find people that are willing to throw themselves fully into that. Like, you'd think that it wouldn't be that hard, but before that, I was the staff head of RPM/BPM. Until I got kicked out of there, almost got kicked out of the station for some reason. Like, that was a weird situation too, because one day I was just told you're no longer allowed at the station, and then literally 2 days later, we never said that you weren't allowed at the station. You can keep doing your show. It's like, what? There was no input from me. That was weird. But since 2013 is when I've been doing Altered State. Long story short.
Wow. Yeah, we started our show, I think, in like 2017, I'd like to say, and it went to 2019. It was, I think, when was our last show? It was right before COVID. That's right.
Harry was on, and then we lost that.
Yeah, that was during Thon week, and I thought it was gonna save, and it didn't, so we lost that episode. That was our last one during Thon week before COVID hit, and yeah, we've had some fun times. Like, we've gotten some complaints of, I remember when I was talking about abortion, touchy subject, of course, and I said something like that I wasn't sure about. I said, aren't most abortions like in X trimester or something like that? And like some disgruntled listener, like DM'd the station on Facebook, and so the president at the time like sent me an email saying, "Hey, make sure you don't do this on the radio. Like, you can't say false shit." And I'm just like, okay. Like, that was basically what he said. He obviously said a lot nice, like, "Hey, they said that this was false, and we checked, and it is false." Blah blah blah. I'm like, Jesus, like, okay. I mean, it's like, get the weirdest like complaints. Why? Do you even know why they were trying to kick you out that one time, or said that like you couldn't come back into the radio? Like, that's really weird.
Okay, my understanding, and it was right around the same time that Andy was let go from the station. There's some background information there that obviously he wasn't comfortable talking about, and I'm not going to speak.
That's fine.
Whatever you want to call that. There's an expression I'm looking for. I'm spacing out on it. Anyway, but part of the issue there, from my understanding, because again, I don't actually know fully what happened there, but one of the new student officers, quote unquote student officers, he was 40 years old and coming back for another degree. So, he had a lot of information, a lot of knowledge about technology stuff, and was like very much like the station really wanted him for whatever. But he had some kind of a thing going on where you didn't, something about alumni members, and like how the station is supposed to be a student station, and was trying to kind of gently push out, sometimes less gently push out, other alumni members of the station. And I fell into that, but then fell out of it. Again, I don't actually know what happened, because I was never given an explanation, either why I was thrown out, and then also why I was reinstated just as quickly. I wish I could give you a better answer than that, but that's what I know.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's just
politics. It ruins everything.
Yeah, literally. I mean, I know like the lady that allegedly got me in the ringer and was causing trouble for Cosmic Rebecca. I've heard she has like a track record of being difficult to deal with, and that's just what I've heard allegedly, but there's just like some weird things like that I don't quite understand.
The absolutely weirdest thing about that entire situation is that I never had that issue with her until this situation.
Yeah.
Like, this situation was the first time that I ever had an instance with this particular DJ. We were on, like, I wouldn't call us friendly necessarily, but we were on civil terms,
Right. Same thing kind of happened to me. I remember she called into my show once and complimented my music choices. I was like, "Oh, thank you." She's like, "Yeah, great job, rock on." And then a few weeks later, we got into trouble.
Lord. Yeah. Sometimes it's just flattering to know that somebody is listening, but when a situation like that arises, it's just kind of like, I'm not sure if I don't know if I would prefer to have this.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Because we've had times where we've always... did they ever give you the ratings ever? Because I was never told that we could, like, get our ratings or know who was listening, which we always kind of wanted to know.
I've been given different bits of information about that depending on who I've asked and when. It's like which ratings, like the ratings from the web stream. I've been told that we're not allowed to see that for whatever reason. I don't know if that's true or not. If you're talking about like the oh no, I can't remember what it's called. The radio equivalent of the Nielsen. It's like, it's not the Nielsen, but it's the radio equivalent of that.
I'll Google that.
There's some radio equivalent of the Nielsen ratings that would be able to tell you that. I don't know if we have access to that, because apparently it's very expensive to get those numbers. So again, I wish I have just enough information to be able to give you like half answers and supposition, not enough information to actually give you a full answer. I'm sorry about that. I really am.
Nah, that's okay, because we were just...
I mean, that does explain a little bit, though. I mean, it's like, because you don't expect, I always I kind of always thought they had that information, but the fact that they have to actually pay for it is like, yeah, I don't.
Well, it's
I don't
more
know if
difficult to calculate for a radio. It's not like TV. Everything's all digital now. All
Yeah.
digital now. You can easily gauge that.
And it's
Now,
and it's not like, and it's not. It's like a student radio station, so it's not like they're contingent on like advertising or anything like that. Like something like that would be like, oh, if a show gets certain views, and then it's like they warrant certain advertisements, then it's like like that, like there's a ripple effect to that. But since it's like 90.7 is like it's a school station, it's not really like it's not really that the numbers aren't really that important to them per se.
yeah, no, like I'm just surprised they won't give you the web numbers though, 'cause that seems pretty stupid.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Well, that's the one.
Again,
good
I don't know. I don't know why. You'd think that would be a relatively easy thing to do. I'm not sure if they just don't have access to that for whatever reason. I simply don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe if I ask again, like more recently, like maybe if I asked again, I might be able to get a different answer. But I haven't thought to do that.
No, that's the one good thing about going to YouTube is you can get those things at the drop of a drop of a hat. It's so easy and get so many metrics. Like you can even figure out, the age and like the sex of the people who are actually like listening into you. And like, what was it that one time? Like most of the time it's just like 99% men, but then that one time it was like there was like 99% women. I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah. Yeah, you get a whole demographics breakdown if it's people that are watching with an account. I believe that's how they're getting the information. Like if you're logged into YouTube and you're watching one of our videos. But yeah, we had that one time where the gender demographics just completely flipped. It was like really funny, but we were getting mostly like Zoomers, millennials, and some Gen Xers like were our main audience. But it was mostly males that were around our age.
Yeah, that's not too surprising, really.
Yeah.
And yeah, YouTube is very convenient as far as being able to give you all that data. It's not like they have all that information because Google. They know everything. They know everything about you. They know more about you than you know about yourself, sir.
Yep, that's certainly true. And I've always liked the radio format for being able to play music, have our show and do all that stuff, but like there were drawbacks, like not being able to quickly go, oh, how many people are tuning in. Like with this live stream right now, I can see like right away like how many people are actually watching it, and then see on the replays how many people watch it. But it's so many like give and takes. Like this, yeah, you have the chat, which is cool, but with the radio you get the callers, and you can't really get that here unless you get people to join the Discord like you did.
Yeah,
I actually had to create my account to do that. I've had Discord on my iPad for a while. I just never had bothered to make an account for it.
Well, the other thing too that I kind of don't like about YouTube is like, or not about YouTube, about the radio stations. It seems like every time, and like Sean was one who actually dealt with the hardware sort of things, but every time someone would screw it up. Like between shows, and like it would make it so because we always used to have it so that like because I was the first one of me and Sean and Phil to graduate, so I pretty much had to go and call in ever since then. And the radio station, like sometimes it would be fine, other times someone would just like unplug everything.
Yeah, we had trouble initially with the actual phone, and when Alex would call in, it would sometimes be decent quality. Sometimes he'd sound like he'd coming out of a can. Sometimes just nothing would come through. And I was never given straight answers, and I finally figured out what the problem was when there was nothing coming through, which was I had to hit that button on the right in the switchboard that basically sends the phone audio feed through the radio, and so I was able to get him then. And so that eventually worked, except it just started sounding like other shit. And so I learned that we had the Mac Mini there, and I thought, wait, can we get the sound from that to go out? And then I figured out how to do that, and I was like, oh, sweet. And so that's, I mean, Alex and I were one of the first people to use Discord like ever when the platform was first launched, and now it's extremely popular. But we had already been a part of many like Discord servers, so we just naturally used Discord, and it was so much better sounding. But then the Mac Mini died, and so we were like, "Shit, what do we do now?" And then
that's been terrible. I live tweet my show, like the songs that I play on the show. That it's a lot harder to do quickly on my phone, but do what you got to do, right?
Yeah, and that was the thing too. Is like even when we had the Mac Mini, one time I got logged out, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And then I finally got the login or something, or somebody eventually logged in. But then it died, and yeah, like you said, it was very hard. So I eventually asked, and I found out that we could plug in like our laptop into like the aux cable, and so I was able to do it that way. But that created new problems where if we had like a call, or if we had something else like going on, like it wouldn't go through Discord, and you couldn't hear the caller unless I muted myself and then turned up the speakers so that they could hear him. It was like so much easier when we had that Mac Mini. I miss that thing.
Yeah, it is what it is, but that was definitely a tool that you don't think about until it's gone. And now that it's gone, it's just like, why?
Yeah.
It's like a Cinderella song.
Yeah. It's just, it's a shame, but I hope they have some money now raised up, because they were saying they were raising money to get a new one. There's a brand new one out now, so I hope they get one. But
it would be nice.
Yeah, I put a lot of music in that library too. Like, I mean, we already had a lot of tracks, but that was what was nice too. You could just play pretty much anything. Like with YouTube, you can't play any music, or else you're screwed.
Yeah, which
that's definitely a downside of YouTube. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but like I've noticed with YouTube too that like one of the problems I've had, and
You're breaking up, Sam.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me now?
No, sounding worse actually. You're going like really in and out. I don't know if it's your connection or if it's the position of your mic.
How's this?
That's a lot better.
Okay, yeah, I took you off speaker. For some reason, Discord won't let me connect via my desktop, which is where my mic is set up and whatnot. So I'm just using my phone. But one of the things I noticed that's like a big problem with YouTube too is like the lag time after you finish a stream. It takes forever for YouTube to process streams properly, it seems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get stuck in that processing, like freaking like quarantine. It just like sits you there, and then you get let out of it like 2 days later sometimes. I remember some of our streams were that way. So recently they've been pretty good. Like they've actually been up like once we're done streaming, and sometimes not.
Yeah, it's really hit or miss for me too. I've noticed that like for the shorter streams, like if I do my show like under an hour, it's pretty good. But anything beyond that, it just goes into processing hell.
Yeah.
But I mean, one thing I also miss, because I actually did like terrestrial radio in Denver for like a little bit, just like at a community college. And one thing I miss is kind of like the promotion element of it too, a little bit, is that like you at least have the station promote you a little bit.
Yeah.
And with streaming, you have to do it like yourself, which isn't bad. It's just if you're not used to it, it takes some getting used to. So
yeah, and that was what was cool is when we eventually had some big guests on, like we had some solid material for promos, and that's when we made the Milo one, and that one was the one we used for our remaining time there, and I don't know how many people it actually gave us. And that was another thing too that we couldn't get to work, is like we put it in that library for promos, but it was never ever automatically played. The only one that was ever automatically played was the Grateful Dead hour. I don't know why that was an issue, and it never got fixed no matter how many times I brought it up.
Could have been because Milo was too controversial.
I think it was all the other ones too. Like there was like 7 other ones and would just only play the one.
Yeah, exactly. That was what was really weird about it. It only played that one promo. And it used to never do that, but it started doing that for the past like year and a half I was there. And I remember noticing every time I came in, the Grateful Dead hour was always the promo there, and I always like swapped it out for other ones during my show. And even future hours, I would swap it out because I mean, I kept it in there sometimes, but I was like, it's not fair to the other shows out there. So it was just really weird, and it never got fixed. I don't know why that was a thing, but
yeah, TK, did they still have that problem when you were there?
It's a really good question. I am not entirely certain. Did you say that it was always the Grateful Dead hour?
Yes.
That was in there.
Yeah, you know how the automation computer like will automatically pull up songs and promos and all that jazz? It would automatically, for the promo section, only do the Grateful Dead hour. And I tried figuring it out myself, could not figure it out. I know I told the president at the time about multiple times, and he claimed he fixed it, but I told him he didn't, and he couldn't figure it out. It was just so weird, but it only played that one promo every time, like it had to do an automated promo.
That is very odd.
Yeah, it was.
If you want, we could discuss conspiracy theories here, but wasn't the DJ that was in question earlier responsible for that show?
Oh yeah, I love this shit.
I think he's actually. I think you're right on that one, TK. Actually, I think she was. So
this is. I am no longer comfortable with this conversation.
The plot has thickened too much.
I'm gonna get myself canceled. Oh my god. Oh,
drive-by trolling.
Yes, exactly. I can't keep my mouth shut. I have lost over 100 followers on Twitter over the past 7 months. Not because I've been espousing. Well, they claim it's because I've been espousing specific political parties, but no, it's just I'm just calling out hypocrisy in media reporting and free speech issues, and that's not very popular right now.
At least you have more than 100 followers on Twitter. I only have 100. If I lose my 100, I'm done.
I've managed to build up 2,500 over the years.
Ooh.
I was almost at 2,600, and then I started the 100 follower downward spiral.
Bro, how many?
At least
quite a few, Sam, don't you? And I think Sam's still dead.
No, I'm here.
He's alive. How many followers do you have on Twitter?
Oh, on Twitter, let me check real quick. I have over 1,000 on Twitter. I know that, but that's. Let me see. I have 1,965 followers on Twitter.
Oof,
but
nice.
then I'm following 3,597 people.
Right.
So like,
yeah.
So like, I'm still
game.
So I'm still following like more people than follow me back. So
yeah. That happens.
That's the algorithm for you.
But then again, like I've also had my account since like September of 2011, which was when I was back in high school. So
wow, I created mine just I think a year ago.
Yeah, no, I've been on Twitter for like a super long time, and I've only been banned like once.
That's
temporarily.
Come on, you're not working hard enough. Then you're not hitting them hard enough.
They
You're obviously not doing something right if you've only been banned for a temporary span.
Yeah.
Well, they've definitely shadow banned me though too, because no one sees my stuff unless I like tag them or something. So
Yeah.
There is a tool that you can use to find out if you have been shadow banned or not. I swear that they have to have done something to the algorithm with my account, because I'm not shadow banned, but I do not get sent to new people, and my content for having 2,500 followers, my content gets viewed like 64 times or something like that.
Right. Same here.
I think that is kind of a form of shadow banning, because if you're not coming up on people's feeds, the algorithm's pushing you to the bottom or pushing you just completely out of it.
Yeah, it's Twitter for you.
Yeah.
Well, Twitter fame.
Thank you, Jack.
Twitter fame. It's something else. Like you could get like 5,000 followers, but then you still have fucking Chris Chan out there with like 55,000 fucking followers and his own fucking Wikipedia basically, and all he did was like make a fucking Sonic ripoff and act like an idiot on the internet.
He made a Sonic ripoff, but also fed the trolls. What did they call him? They actually created a word for like a lol cow. Is that what they referred to Chris Chan as?
Yeah, they made like that. That's who was like basically like he didn't found with like kiwi farms, but he was basically responsible for it. That whole.
He's a fascinating, and there are actually documentaries about Chris Chan on YouTube. He is a fascinating individual that is he is so far out there.
Well, it just amazes me.
No, that's right. They came out as trans something or other, so I think it's a she. I think that she is the pronoun.
Christina Chandler.
Christina Chandler, that's right.
Jeez, like, it just amazes me, though, because, like, you have this one guy who basically all he did was, attract trolls, and he has more content on the internet about him than fucking Albert Einstein. Like, he's done fucking wiki dedicated to himself. Think about that.
Oh, that's incredibly sad. Oh my god.
Yeah, like, shit, like, what could we be doing in that time? Like, fucking Donald Trump doesn't have shit on fucking Christian in terms of how many fucking, like, internet things. Like, pretty much everybody. Like, maybe even George Washington are probably, like, head-to-head right now in terms of, like, how much, like, written content's about him.
Oh, God. You can see why Alex was my first, I guess you were a permanent guest that became host. I don't know what we call ourselves anymore. My co-host. Man. That's shit that we know.
So I have a question. Speaking of locales, and Sean and Alex, you'll have to forgive me. But first off, have you heard of Owen Benjamin?
All right, time to start the drink.
How long did it take this time, Alex?
You're a little bit, so I'll go on that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. What were you saying, Sam? We started, by the way, we were joking the other night. We were like, we should start like a timer that's like on the fucking screen. It's like T-minus, minutes till Sam mentions Owen Benjamin or the Bears.
Let's just turn into a drinking game. Let's, every time that either Owen Benjamin, the Bears, or I think that was it, gets mentioned, you take a drink.
I got through an entire episode of the Whitfield Report without mentioning it though.
Wow.
And
that's like your longest kill streak yet.
Until someone at the end of the show was like, "So what do you think about the latest update in his lawsuit?" And I'm like, "Don't know."
That's funny.
See, Sean, you need to drink because this would be more.
Don't.
This would be more fun. We had you participate in the drinking.
Look at how far I've come without drinking.
Oh yeah, that's Sean's superpower. He doesn't drink.
Including my weaponized autism, it's also my weaponized teetotaling. What's the term?
Yeah, it's I think it's teetotaling.
Teetotaling, yeah, yeah. My weaponized powers are coming together, and it's I need like a third one, so I have like a trifecta. And look, we spun out of that. We spun out this radio show together. We've gotten speakers on the campus. We've caused like mass protests. We've done all kinds of crazy shit. I mean, you know.
I'm saying, think how much more crazy shit you could do if you tried.
You guys brought Sargon of Akkad and Hunter Avalone on campus. And when I realized that had happened and I could have gone, I was so upset. Oh my
You
God!
didn't see our 50 million posters across campus?
I'm not on. Like, I'm an alumni. Like, I barely go on campus except for the radio show these days.
True.
Like that was my major issue.
I should have left like a flyer just like haphazardly in the radio station. You know, like taped it to inside the trash can so it looks like it was being thrown out, but like people like would see it and it wouldn't be like advertising officially. But
interesting.
Yeah, see, I've learned to think outside the box and that shit. But we actually have the full thing up. If I'll send it to you right now, it's like it's on our channel. But yeah,
I actually communicated with you guys in the comment section of that video. That's where like I realized that it happened because I actually watched that whole thing, and then I realized, oh wait, this was like a week ago. This was here. Oh God, they were here and I missed it, and oh God, I was so upset with myself because I'm out of the loop.
Yeah, I'm sorry you missed that because it was really fun. Like Phil was at it. That was when I was chapter president of the Turning Point chapter, and previous year, like I was secretary, and that's when we brought Don Jr. Can we go for on Charlie Kirk? But then when it was my year, like Turning Point wasn't sending us any speakers or anything, so I was just like, all right, let's see how much chaos we can cause. And yeah, we got who we could, honestly.
Well done, gentlemen. Well done. You did well on that regard.
Yeah, Hunter Avalon, he's kind of being a very interesting person lately.
After our thing, that was what was wild. Is like when we invited him, I thought he was just like solid Trump supporting young YouTuber, and he told us like after I did the interview with him on the radio, he was like, you know, I might say some stuff that you guys might disagree with, so I just want to warn you. And I'm like, oh, so he's gonna be like super edgy or something? All right, cool. I'm fine with that. And then he gets there and he starts going on about how conservatives aren't censored by big tech and like there's no big tech conservative bias. Like he was saying that doesn't happen. He's like, yeah, conservatives are like banned on big tech, but there's not a bias to it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And like people were
that's ludicrous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The argument isn't there is no bias. The argument is does it also happen to people on the left? And yes, it does happen to people on the left, but it happens to people on the right a significantly larger percentage of the time.
Yeah, exactly. And people were bringing that up to him. They were bringing up the fact that there were Project Veritas videos of these big tech employees literally like showing their bias and saying we're not going to let Trump win again. And we brought up so many cases like in the Q&A, and even Sargon was like debating it with him, and I just couldn't believe where he was coming from on that. And then ever since that clip went around, made the rounds on the internet, like a lot of people saw that. And then that's when the whole Groyper War thing was happening, and then he like Connor just started going really, really left wing. Like he started, it might have even been before this, he was saying that there are more than two genders, and now he's even called Sargon a white nationalist, like after that thing. And I'm like, dude, you just shared a stage with him. What are you talking about?
Yeah, Sargon is many things. The furthest you could go with Sargon is like he's an edgy boy sometimes, but white nationalist, no. White supremacist, no. Nazi, no. Sincerely, that's ludicrous.
Yeah, it was insane, but crazy way of triggering the left, though, I have to say. They lost their shit when they heard about that event, like, and they looked into Sargon. I mean, they were just losing it. The protests that happened outside of it, they tore down our posters. They wrote Antifa on our posters. I mean, it was just a never-ending like cycle.
Yes, yes. The peaceful side. They're there for for peace and understanding amongst everybody, or else
Yeah, love and tolerance. That's what they
love and
specialize
love and tolerance. Absolutely.
in. Yeah.
Love and tolerance, or else we're just gonna punch your face in, man. That's all there is to it. It's fine. It's gonna be a tolerant love and tolerance punch to the face.
God, if we bring who we want to bring at some point with future plans, there could be some punches being thrown. Not saying it should or would happen, but things could get fiery. So
You have any control over that shit?
we try to.
The violence, yeah, the violence comes if you go any direction but where they want you to go. So you just gotta take what you need to do to protect yourself, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, see, when I was even over there, I was in the College Republicans. Like, I graduated in 2017, but like they had freaking Ben Shapiro, the most milquetoast, like, quote unquote Republican out there, and they were like banging at the doors, chanting like Beyonce songs. For Ben Shapiro, you would think that they brought Richard Spencer to Penn State, but it was fucking milquetoast Ben.
Who just says facts don't care about your feelings. That's all. Like, that's the edgiest thing he's ever said.
Yeah.
Well,
The outrage against Ben Shapiro has been the best thing for his career, simply because of the memes. Like, all of the memes that have come from Ben Shapiro is just like, they have made him a superstar. He is,
Do you know how much he charges for like campus speaking events? Like, that's literally, I think, his fucking job, just because he can charge. Like, he charges out the ass for, like, Sargon. I don't even think, didn't he just like ask for like room and board or something?
Sargon was the most generous speaker I've ever had. He literally just said, "Hey, can you cover our travel expenses and hotel expenses?" Which was literally like, we split the international flight, I believe. And then he flew from Salt Lake City, where he was doing another talk, to Penn State, and we did that one. And then his hotel, and I gave him like a decent hotel too, like one that I've even stayed in there. And it must have been like only like $500 to $700 in total. I think it was under $1,000 that we even had to pay for him. But Ben Shapiro was asking, I believe, like $55,000 for a speaking fee.
Oh,
which is insane.
Damn, that's some cheddar.
Well, it's not as bad as Jordan Peterson, who was charging a minimum of $50,000, and at most, I believe it was $75,000. I was actually just looking at that email today, so I should actually pull that back up to find that number. But it was like, I think it was $55,000 to $70,000 or $50,000 to $75,000, something like that. He charges the most insane speaking fee plus, and that's not even including his request for first class travel, airfare, and first class first class air travel, and like best hotel you can get. I'm like, no, just no.
Who was the Obama's America guy again? What was his name?
Dinesh D'Souza.
Yeah, like I heard he also, like, I remember when he came over here, not only does he charge out the ass, but he also like tries to like pawn off his merch at the fucking event, like at the end.
Yeah, I experienced that because remember I was trying to get his autograph and he wouldn't give it. He wanted me to buy his shit and get that shit signed.
That's what Glenn Beck made me do when I met him.
What? See, that's just dumb. Like, I mean, if you ask, like, Milo for a stage, she'd be like, "Oh, of course, darling, I'll sign anything." He would just sign it right away. Sargon signed whatever I had. Hunter even signed whatever I had. I mean, that sort of shit I just think is silly. Crowder's fee was $20,000, and then Peterson's, I'm looking at this email because it was between, like, that like Crowder goes through YAF, which is like Ben Shapiro's thing, and then Peterson goes through the Creative Arts Agency, CAA, which is like the biggest agency of all agencies that deals with like Hollywood celebs and everything. And Peterson was charging, about to find it. I know Ruben was charging a minimum of 10,000. And that's probably going up, I'd imagine. I think it has gone up to like 20 or 15,000, I think. Yeah, according to Pearson's agent, his typical speaking fee was 50,000 to 75,000.
Yeah, see, that's just nuts. You know, like, I get it that you need to get, like, these people, they make a lot of money, but on the other hand, they don't make that much, where you can basically get a whole year's salary for doing one day of, like, not even a whole day, it's just you basically fucking speaking at a fucking event.
Yeah,
Like,
well, here's the thing I always bring up too, is that Crowder, at least, like, for less than half of that, or more than half that, he brings a full show with costumes and props and all this shit. And I believe he doesn't go out of Texas anymore, but he'd bring all this shit because he's gone to Michigan before. Pearson just brings the clothes on his back. Like, what's he bringing other than himself? Like, it's not like a huge ask.
yeah.
What is he up to these days? Like, I know he went through that whole horrifying ordeal with his health. Is he back out at this point, or is he okay?
Yeah, he released a video recently where he is out of rehab. From, I think he was in Russia, which was really strange. And
he was in rehab for a like a really messed up addiction to
painkillers.
Oh shoot, what was it? No, it wasn't painkillers. It was an anti-anxiety medication, like a gnarly one, like the really hardcore stuff. It messes with your brain hardcore, and then it got in. For whatever reason, he had an adverse reaction to this thing, so that even when he was trying to get off of it, he could not. He had to be put into an induced coma in Russia, because no other place was willing to do it. He got double pneumonia from one of the places that he went to try to get this treatment, and then he got COVID at the end of it. So yeah, like, that's the stuff that I'm talking about. He's back out and releasing videos again?
Yeah, he is back out, and I think he's gonna be starting more videos soon. But it's called benzodiazepine.
Benzos, yeah.
Diazepine, that's the one. Yes. It does horrifying stuff to your brain.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Antidepressants, they'll fuck you up. Like, my brother, he was on like this one, and he was just normal, and then like out of nowhere he was like about to fight me. I was like, what the hell's going on here? And he'd always, like, he'd had like a little bit of anger issues, but like this, it was like, you know, from 0 to like, I'm gonna kick your ass in like 5 seconds. You know, that stuff will really mess with you, and people don't realize that it's like addicting physically. You know, it's probably one of the most...
it actually changes the way that your brain functions in certain ways, and to a certain extent, there are people where that is good. Like, their brains are not working correctly, and these things can actually affect them in a positive way. But there's a big issue with overprescription, you know, and that's in all medications.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true with that. Like, shoot, you know, like, you know, with like opiates especially, like, geez, I just had my wisdom teeth taken out, and they gave me like all these fucking opiates, you know.
Yeah,
like,
we're still
addicted to that shit.
Yeah, we're still as a country massively fucked up in the tail end of that whole crisis. You know, and that was spurred on by corporate greed. That was fun. You know, just murder a few 100,000, few million people so that you can get your profits up. All right, cool.
Yeah, and they buy off Congress and lobby them to keep that going.
Yeah,
Lord. Are we getting ourselves into a depression spiral here?
Yeah, what happened to shooting the shit? What happened to
I'm not sure.
Our crazy time.
did I see something in the title of the video that there was going to be discussion about Georgia? Because I know nothing about what's going on in Georgia.
Oh yeah, so in Georgia, there's been, I think I have to double check because it kept going back and forth on whether they certified the results or not. But there was a physical recount, and there's been a lot of arguments that there are votes that haven't been counted that should have been counted, and votes that haven't been counted that should have been counted. There's been a lot of craziness going on, but Alex Jones, Ali Alexander, Nick Fuentes have all been on the ground there in Georgia protesting at the Capitol building. There's been a lot of people coming out for protests there. I know Scott Presler and, oh God, what's his name? I'm sorry, I'm screwing up. Brennan Straka and a bunch of other people were out there. RSBM was filming it, and there was just a lot of conservatives going out there. And I know Charlie Kirk is finally going out there. So there's a lot of action happening on the ground there in terms of trying to stop the steal. And then there's, of course, the runoff race that's going to be the race decides the balance of the Senate. So it's going to be wild.
Yeah, this whole election cycle has been absolutely incredible to watch. Incredibly stressful, incredibly exciting, just incredibly, yeah. No, there's it's just been so much going on. It's been absolutely overwhelming.
Metal for Life in the chat. You need to go to sleep, not us. Continue.
Here's the thing that I don't understand. You know, why didn't they, like, if you're going to be voting remotely, why don't they require you to at least use your freaking IDs? You know, like your regular ID and stuff like that. Like, just for the vote in general. Like, why is that such a hard thing for America to understand? Like, literally every other, like, regular country has voter ID requirements. Why is the United States unique where, you can't buy alcohol, you can't get a house, you can't get, like, any sort of meaningful job, but, you can vote without an ID? Why, how'd that even happen,
Well, yeah, I'm sorry to say, Alex, but when you say that, you're trying to hold back minorities and poor people from voting. So if you support something like that, you're racist and you hate poor people. So we have to not have any voter IDs to make voting more accessible to our Democratic voters.
Yeah, no, like, that's such a crock of shit. Like, even, like, homeless people, they get fucking IDs. You know how I know? Because they're always, like, fucking smoking cigarettes and they're always drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
If a fucking homeless guy can manage to get liquor, how come the Democrats don't think that, pretty much everyone can do, like, get a fucking ID somehow? Like, it just bewilders me that this is an issue that's uniquely American. Well, it's basically made by the Democrats. They fought in the courts over that. Over something, like, in today's day and age, you can't open up a bank account without an ID. Like, there's literally very few things. Like, soon enough, you won't even be able to open up social media accounts without an ID.
Yeah, I could see that. I could really see that.
They made me.
Oh yeah, no. The anonymity of the internet is incredibly inconvenient for people who don't want people to be anonymous on the internet.
Well,
the theory of anonymity on the internet, anyway.
Well, Facebook almost, like, at least for me, like, I had an interesting story with that. Like, right before, it was like in, like, I think it was the end of March or, like, the beginning of May. Is like I lost access to my Facebook account because I did a negative reaction or, like, the angry face to a Breitbart article comparing George Floyd to Jesus Christ, or not Jesus Christ. It was Martin Luther King, and that I had an angry face reaction because I didn't think that was an appropriate sort of comparison. And then they locked me out of my Facebook account until the day after the election, and they want to go and say that, like, conservatives don't get, like, fucked with by these companies. And I predicted it too. I was going to say, watch, as soon as this election's over, they're going to give me back my access.
And sure enough.
I'll tell you what, I avoided Facebook for the longest possible time, up to and including, like, I had a Facebook that I shut it down. I hate Facebook with a passion, but COVID happened, and so I got a portal so that I could stay in communication with family more easy. But unfortunately, you need to have a Facebook account to do that. So I bit the bullet, made a Facebook account, and then they made it the worst possible experience to try to open up a new Facebook account. I had to actually, like, I got in was able to change a couple of bits of information in it, and then it locked me out. And then I literally had to scan my driver's license in to prove that I was the person who just created this account.
Yep, that's what they made me do, but then they like still locked me out for 6 months. And they said because of COVID, it might take a little while for you to get access to your account. I had to threaten like to request my information or whatever, and then they finally like relenting gave me access. Like I wanted my personal information.
When did you demand that?
It was probably sometime in September when I started. And then like I kept getting put through this like automation loop, and I think I finally got a human by the end of like October, and that's when that stuff happened. But I don't think it's a coincidence, because like, they should have done it earlier, because I already submitted my information in like the day after when they asked me to. I sent them my photo ID, and they like either just forgot about it. But as soon as I requested like my personal information, like, when you can download that stuff, they said, oh, we can't do that because your Facebook account's locked. And I said, okay, well, I want access, unlock my Facebook account. They're like, oh, okay, well, if you want to delete your Facebook account, you need to give us, this information. I was like, well, I don't want you to fucking delete my account. I just want to access it. And then I kept getting through this fucking loop. It was like every day they'd send me an email telling me like, if I want to delete my Facebook account, I have to go and like send in like a photo ID and like utility bill or something.
Yeah.
It was insane.
When I'm looking at your account, you were thrown into Facebook jail around April 19th because it's funny. It shows you how like the world has changed and yet not changed at the same time since you're banned. The last thing you posted before your comeback post was a meme about with Joe Exotic.
Yeah, that was around the time. I remember that.
And then November 5th is when you came back. It was literally, let's see, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. 7 months. And it was 36 hours after polls closed in Pennsylvania that your account was reinstated. Coincidence? I think not.
Yeah, no, it was bullshit. Because, like, I don't like Facebook, but, like, there's certain people that I only know, like, I only have access to on Facebook.
Yeah, that's the problem with depending on these platforms. It's like I'm in the same boat as TK where I didn't want to create a Facebook for the longest time because I hated the company. I just hated like what it was doing to people too in terms of social media. But I was like, I had to get one to manage some club pages for Penn State. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I ended up like actually liking being able to use Facebook to promote stuff. And that's what I do with this. I use it as a tool to share articles, funny memes, ideas, cool shit happening. Like, I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, food porn, and like takes a picture of my food to like, whatever stupid reason, or to be on Instagram taking narcissistic photos. I'm not into that, and that's turned me off. But I've joined all these things only to kind of stay in the loop on things, to know what's going on, to understand how to use them for good, and connect with friends.
Yeah, no, like I honestly like Messenger. Like that's probably what I use Facebook mostly for, just so I can contact these people easily. Because I have friends who like change their phone numbers all the time, and it's just easy and like to video chat people. But
the problem is, and I understand why so many people do love Messenger, is because it's a nice, easy way to connect with people. But I fucking hate it because you're relying upon a platform that can ban you. It's like when you text people and when you call people, like they can't take that feature away from you. The phone companies can't discriminate against you. Thankfully, there are laws in place for that. But Facebook can. Twitter can.
You're on Discord right now. Yeah.
Discord too. Yeah, and I love Discord. It's not as bad as a lot of other platforms. Like the only people they really banned are like Wignats after Charlottesville.
They banned Sam.
And Sam, sorry.
You just said Wignat. I'm a drink again.
Yeah. And when I heard it happen to Sam, that's when I was like, oh shit, we gotta be careful.
Well, and that one was weird because it wasn't even for anything that I posted.
It was the Gavin server, right?
Yeah, well, and that was the interesting thing was, so back when So back when Gavin McInnes started his own network, which is censored.tv, there's some guy, a guy by the name of Jimmy, who actually is from the UK. He started a Discord server just for Gavin McInnes fans. And so
And
I
his
joined.
subreddit too.
Yeah, and so and the subreddit as well. So I was one of the first people to join the Discord. And the funny thing about the Discord was we really didn't talk about Gavin or like politics all that much. Like there were
Sam, speak closer to your phone. I can barely hear you.
there were a lot of people who would just like, do things like share, like cooking recipes or, talk about like, work stuff or what have you. It was more of like a community that just happened to, be, just happened to subscribe to Gavin's thing, right? But then after the George Floyd, riots, and that whole thing happened, Discord said that they were going to crack down on like white nationalist and white supremacist, servers. So the Gavin McInnes server basically got banned, and then every single one of the users that was in there, including the black people we had, were all banned for racism.
I wasn't banned though, and I was in that server.
Yeah, but you weren't that active though, I don't think.
Did they just take out the active people then?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, see, that's what scares me. Like, that's one thing I really don't like about Discord, because like most other platforms, like you actually have to be doing something that they consider objectionable to kick you off. Like, they won't just go and ban everyone who's like in a server who doesn't do infringing content.
Yeah.
Well,
and I love Discord as a platform. Like, it's by far the best communication platform, and their policies were actually pretty good for the longest time until recently, and now it's just like the rest of them, where you're scared and you're just waiting to be banned for guilt by association, really. I mean, that's happened with some other accounts or other platforms too. And the thing that's concerning too is that I think with the Gavin server, didn't a bunch of like Wignats and Groypers and other people that were posting, more out there content, to put it mildly, weren't they the ones that kind of got the Gavin server banned?
Yeah, so what happened with that was they were posting all this edgy stuff, but then like the mod team was really good at like, cleaning things out and, reporting the the Wignats and the stuff to Discord like you're supposed to. But I guess because they were on there, at one point or another, Discord just banned the entire thing outright. And I mean, that's the other thing that's really kind of unnerving about Discord was like they did not give us like, and they did not give me like a specific instance, or like a specific example of like why I was banned. They just said that I was banned for like, targeted harassment of like groups of people or something like that. I mean, just like very vague, stuff.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's totally bullshit.
Like, that's the problem with these companies, though. It's like they always have these very vague terms of service.
Yeah.
And
by design.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they're the public square these days. It's like the argument is always, oh, they're a private company. They can do what they want. But
nope.
when you think about, videos, you think about YouTube. When you think about, short messages, you think Twitter. When you think about, connecting with your families, you think Facebook. These companies, they are the public square these days, but they are also private companies. So it's a weird position where you just like, you don't have an opportunity to actually have the discourse that you're supposed to be able to have because it's a private we're living in a dystopian, like a dystopian cyberpunk novel at this point.
Yes.
Especially now.
Mega corporations and drones and mercenary police.
Yeah, we were even just talking about, and I'll let you go there in a second, Alex. We were just talking about that Cyberpunk 2020 tabletop game because we were talking about the 2077 coming out. Like, they literally had like a part in one of the companion books that was talking about all the shit we're seeing now. It's like eerie how accurate it was, and it was, I forget when that was released.
It's like the 80s, I think.
I believe, yeah, it was around like probably few years after Blade Runner. It was around that time.
Well, no, but what I was saying was, like, especially now at the public square, because you physically can't go to the public square because of coronavirus.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're absolutely right.
Like, honestly, they should have, like, fucking Trump, I wish he would have done this, like, an executive order to basically regulate them like the public square. Like, at least for now, like, I mean, because that's...
He had the opportunity to. He kind of fucked that one up.
Yeah, like, that's the one thing I will say. Like, I do love Trump, but he did... I think he should have hammered those companies harder than what he did. But I know that, like, some of it, they're paying off the fucking senators and the congressmen. But, I've seen him do that fucking order on the bump stocks. He can do something on the fucking Twitter and Facebook.
Well, he revoked the Article 230, which was a big step, but,
Trying to. It's not that he revoked it. Oh God, what was the actual? It wasn't a revocation of it, but it was putting in place the ability for it to be actually enforced correctly, which it hasn't been enforced correctly or equally or something like that.
Well, the thing that sucks, though, especially if the election goes the way the media is saying it's going to go, is that all those executive orders he's done can all be turned around and just disappear. They can be completely reversed, and you're back to square one on these things. That's why it always has to come to Congress to actually have, like, solidifying permanent change. Or you just, like, what we've been talking about now is, like, I think the government's the wrong solution to this. I think we just gotta sue these companies and get rid of them. I think that's the only option now.
Yeah, that's the one thing the EU's been good for, is, like, suing the shit out of these, like, big tech companies.
Yeah.
Gotta give them that, yeah.
Because, like, they are, like, they've violated, like, thankfully, like, they've actually enacted, like, GDPR, like, working the corporate world, like, that's a pain in the ass, but, like, for social media companies, it's necessary. And that's the one good thing about California, is they have something similar to GDPR over there, where you can sue these companies if your, like, data's used inappropriately or breached or something. And I feel like that's probably the best avenue for attack, and that's something that, like, both parties would actually they could almost agree with it, that's ridiculous. Like, the violations of just privacy, that's probably the easiest way. At least for, like, Facebook. I don't know about Twitter so much, but, like, Google and Facebook, they violate the shit out of your privacy. You have no privacy with they keep, with those companies, like, even if you don't have a Facebook account, they still, if a website has that little Facebook fucking button on there, it's tracking you.
Yeah. I found that out today. Like, for the first time, actually downloaded the Facebook app and the Messenger app, and I was digging into some of the stuff, and I have it as restricted as possible. Like, it can't look through, well, it says it's not supposed to look through my contacts, look through my photos, use my camera, microphone. But
it doesn't. It just ignores all that stuff. You realize that, right?
Yeah. I know.
Read the 200-page terms of use or whatever, the EULA.
Well, hopefully, I mean, Apple does seem to be a little bit better with the privacy, so hopefully they are stopping that crap. But it it's one of those things where, like, you don't even have to have the app. You just go on the fucking website and you're already screwed. Like, you don't have to do barely anything to get screwed on them. And, like, just liking a page does stuff you wouldn't even imagine it does.
Have shadow profiles of like anybody, almost I think everybody basically, because every time you see one of those little Facebook widgets on a page, it's, even if you don't have a Facebook account or you're not logged into it, it's still tracking all of it, like everybody that goes past that thing, and it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So they know everywhere that you go.
Yeah, and that's why I was talking to Alex about this last night, because for the longest time I never had the Facebook app downloaded, and I kind of just feel like talking. He said they they've already got you. You're already screwed. So I'm just like, it's not gonna make a difference at this point.
Yeah, no, like you ever do like click that ad preferences, or like you get an ad on Facebook, you can click that like little information button and see what Facebook thinks you are. Like, you ever click that?
I could do that right now.
Like, you'll find like it's some of those things are surprisingly accurate, and some are just like, what the fuck's going on here? Why they put me in this like category?
I remember
like,
they did that with you. It was funny.
Yeah, like they were saying like they thought I was Jewish or something. I'm like, what? Like, it was just
interesting.
Like, weird. Yeah, like I'm not, I'm Catholic, but like it was like you're this, and then there was like, I have to go and see what it is now, because I don't know what's been going on since I've been off. But
Is
like,
it the why am I seeing this ad thing?
Yeah, you can go over there and it'll like say basically why they send ads to you, and you can see your ad profile or whatever, and you can just find some funny things and some scary things, because it like they track that information. They basically complete this profile of pretty much who they think you are.
That's what targeted advertising is, and I, as somebody has an advertising degree, I mean, we touched on that a little bit in the classes. I can't wait to actually get my hands on the real world, but like, it's changed everything, because you can micro target specifically. Like, if you're trying to sell, let's say Cyberpunk 2077, you're not going to target boomers with that shit. You want to be sending those ads right to your 18 to 35-year-old demographic that's male, that's a gamer. You want to see if they've been on Newegg, have they shown interest in cyberpunk genre. Like, you can really micro target, and that's what they're looking to do.
Facebook has definitely gotten very good at doing that kind of a thing.
Yep.
Going back a second, like just talking about Biden coming into power. I got to be honest, like I'm less concerned about a lot of that stuff that you were talking about, like just having a bunch of executive orders invalidated. I mean, there's the constitutionality of just the amount of executive orders that have been happening over the past 10 years is a separate conversation. But I am more concerned by a lot of the stuff that I've been seeing on Twitter a lot in relation to like what'll happen after Biden gets into power. Like people like Robert Reich, who is a Berkeley professor, former Secretary of Labor under Bill Clinton, co-founder Inequality Media. Like, and he put a tweet out on October 17th. When this nightmare is over, we need a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It would erase Trump's lies, comfort those who have been harmed by his hatefulness, and name every official, politician, executive, and media mogul whose greed and cowardice enabled this catastrophe. And this is not a thing that is limited to just like this kind of a guy. It's a lot of it is limited to the blue check marks on Twitter and the like. But it's people like AOC, and like other really big names. They're all calling for this kind of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission kind of a thing to name and cause issues for anybody who supported Trump in any way, shape, or form, even if it was just like a positive post. It's like, this shit is creepy.
Yeah, we've talked about this too, how, and I strongly believe that with Biden in power, I'm not worried about what Biden himself is going to do. I'm worried about what everybody else is going to do, because the tech companies are going to be totally embrazen. Black Lives Matter is going to be embraced, all these people that have been calling us Nazis going to be embraced, and they are going to look at this like post-World War II, like, because they call us Nazis. Remember that. They're going to look at it like that and go, hey, what did we do with the Nazis after World War II? We made sure they paid for their crimes. And that's what they're going to look at us like. They think, oh, you people, we're going to persecute you. We're going to ban you. We're going to take you off all these social media platforms. We're going to take your bank account away from you. We're going to make you suffer and pay for what you did. We're not going to let this happen ever again. And that's what they're going to do. I mean, Trump's going to get banned from Twitter. And I've already been seeing a few of my friends get banned from Facebook, specifically Facebook. And I think anybody that's controversial, right-wing, anti like SJW and goes against the globalist narrative, or even is just a little bit fun, is going to be banned. They're going to be taken off. It's just a matter of time.
It's I want to say hilarious, but it's not hilarious at all. It is not an uncommon viewpoint to be seeing people on the left on Twitter, on social media, basically. So, not the real world, but still, it's not an uncommon viewpoint that conservatives specifically, although, more specifically Trump supporters, but, generally conservatives need to be put into re-education camps until they can prove that they are able to be, allowed in polite society. It's like, I have seen this multiple times across the days. It's just like, where's the love, guys? Where's the love?
Yeah, it's only war for now. It's only going to be war.
But war is peace, remember?
Yeah, of course. And slavery is freedom too. Speaking of all
ignorance is anyway.
Well, yeah, I know exactly. It's just, and the funny thing too is, like, people say it's like 1984, but I think we're actually, as Michael Malice says, we're actually in more of like a what's that story called by Alexander Huxley?
Brave New World.
Yeah, we're really in a Brave New World with the numbing of us in society. But
Huxley. Yeah.
Speaking of that, though, because Alex was mentioning, I checked my ad thing on Facebook and I found part of it. I need to find the full thing, but you're going to laugh at this, Alex, because it has different ad topics. And it says pets, you're seeing fewer ads about this topic. Parenting, you're seeing fewer ads about this topic. Alcohol, you're seeing fewer ads about this topic.
Yeah, they made it different now. Like, now that I'm going back on it, used to be, I think, easier to see it. Now they're kind of like, for me, it's not even loading.
I can't even find it.
Like, you used to be able to find it, like, when you found an advertisement on there, and it would tell you, like, your interests or what they think your interests are.
Yeah. I found ad topics, and I found advertisers you've most recently seen.
It's ad topics, I think.
Yeah, but that was the thing I was just reading off.
There may be another one.
It's sending me lots of ads on social issues, elections, or politics. I wonder why.
Was it categories used to reach you, maybe? No, that wasn't it. Interest categories?
Are you looking at... Oh, you're looking at ad settings. I was looking at ad topics, but ad settings where it doesn't have anything.
Now, if you go to interest categories, I think that's the interesting one. It'll
Where
tell you,
is that?
You go to settings, ad settings. I think it's categories used to.
Oh, there it is.
And then interest categories. But for me, it's not loading for some reason.
Same with me. Oh, it just loaded. So it has Sean Hannity, who I don't really watch, Donald Trump, who obviously, Rider University, I don't know what the fuck that is, role-playing games, yeah, it's kind of accurate, Fox News Channel, yeah, see all interest, Barack Obama, nope, Ben Shapiro, nope, Joe Biden, nope, Joe Rogan, yes, Tucker Carlson, yes, Planned Parenthood, big nope, The Beatles, yep, action role-playing game, and culture, Judicial Watch, Unreal Engine, Melania Trump, Republican Party, Word Games, Barstool Sports, University, Star Wars Republic, Big Yep, Netflix, Republican National Committee, Star Wars Association, football. No, I don't like sports. Driving. Well, not good at that apparently. Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., activism, baseball, nonprofit organizations, video games. It just goes on. The Democratic Party. Oh, yeah, it's got fucking everything on here.
It's not loading. Like, it's weird. I think for some reason it's not loading for me. It did that sometimes beforehand.
Akbar, Admiral Akbar.
Yeah, like they have like weird,
Akbar or like Allahu.
I don't know.
like they have weird like computer generated ones. At least they used to. And you can find like some really weird shit that didn't make any sense. And they have like pictures, I think, or at least they used to, like associated with that category.
Well, I can tell a lot of these are coming from pages I've liked, from things I think I've said, like terms I've used often. I think it picks up on, and posts I've liked, pages I've liked, people I've liked. Some of them are. I'm like, what the fuck is Amitabh Bachchan?
Yeah, it's like a fucking.
I'm sorry.
It's a computer.
Gesundheit?
Can you click on it?
I can't click on anything.
Oh, I found mine.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
like
gonna
it
Google it.
made it a lot less interesting than it used to be. Yeah, I'm seeing like it says I like Bernie Sanders.
Yeah,
He's an
yeah,
Indian film actor. Is it being prejudiced based on some other things in my life, if you know what I mean?
They say I like gambling. I never fucking like. I never even buy a fucking lotto ticket.
That's probably because you're friends with Phil.
Second Amendment to the United States Constitution.
Coming
I don't even
out?
like Skyrim. I fucking hate Skyrim. Fuck that. Removing that one.
Why is coming out on here and then Pennsylvania?
I think there's something. Solar
on
power. I
my
fucking hate solar power. Why is it putting that on there?
Libertarianism? Go get the fuck out.
on mine it says I like vodka, which I don't.
No one likes vodka. I just mix it with shit.
Life? Okay. Really don't like that. Treehouse? I've never even said the word phrase treehouse.
What's funny on mine too is it says carpentry, which I have.
You can't. No offense, but that's a little hard for you, isn't it?
Well, I mean, the only thing it is my stepdad is a carpenter, or well, he was, but like he's not even on. But like he's not even on Facebook.
Yeah, but they know, man. They know.
Fuck, I see like.
Yeah, maybe. Here's an interesting thought experiment here. What if those things that you think aren't relevant to you? What if they actually are, and you just don't know it yet?
You know what? That's interesting.
Facebook may know you better than you know yourself, guys. Like,
that's true.
It's possible. Maybe this stuff is all stuff that you're going to come into at some point in the future here. You just haven't gotten there yet.
I'm gonna make a treehouse.
Maybe you want to build a treehouse.
Treehouses are fun.
Yeah. Maybe you have a secret desire to fucking build a treehouse.
Yeah, dude, it's been crawling in my brain this whole time during COVID.
My God, this is like
treehouse. You kidding? That would be awesome.
Actually, would be awesome. Oh, now you're talking me into it.
You see? Oh my God! Facebook! No, Facebook overlord.
Oh God, it's fucking
fuck landing page.
Oh, you just said that, and one on mine just says land.
Independent politician, money. Yeah, who doesn't like money?
Facebook definitely does it. Am I right?
College Republicans, nope.
Nope.
Well, you know what the fuck the Boone and Crockett Club is?
United States, yeah. We're on the right track there.
I don't like pop music.
Oh, I got one like that too. It says
Yes, no, you do like pop music because Facebook says you do.
Yes, you do.
Volunteer fire department.
That's probably from Mikey.
Oh God.
I got one that says future, and then in parentheses it says rapper. I hate rap.
Why?
Sean, you're gonna be a future rapper one day.
Big
That
Sean.
is your future. You're gonna be a SoundCloud rapper, dude. Get on it.
Oh my God, no.
I'll hook you up. I'll hook you up with a producer.
No, let's go. Let's make some right-wing rap.
Oh God, no. Oh, that sounds awful, but also awesome at the same time. Oh Lord.
It says that like fucking K-pop. Like what the fuck?
No, Sean.
I'll take the fucking rap over that shit. At least I can.
No, Sean. Do not turn into Baked Alaska.
Oh God.
Oh God, why? No, I'm dying.
I'm not gonna go yang gang on you, man.
Oh, it says internet privacy on these fucking apps. Yeah,
That's rich.
Yeah.
Court hot dog students union New Jersey. Ugh.
Dude, I have fucking raccoon. What the fuck? Whose interest is raccoon?
We're learning a whole lot about you guys right now.
Yeah, a whole lot you didn't even think you would want to know.
Why does the color green show up in my interest?
Is that your favorite color?
Because you like money.
Like not even like green, anything. Just the color green. It's just like I don't dislike it, but it's not my favorite color.
I have romance film, which I am not into, and then 4K resolution.
Yes, I've heard you talk so much about it. Probably picked it up when you were talking about the.
Yes, I jack off to 4K. I get it, but like, it's not like a fucking like major interest. I mean, I guess if they're gonna like curate like 4K TVs like in my targeted advertising, but then World Health Organization, no, get out with that globalist shit.
They put fucking Benjamin Netanyahu on there. Like, when have I even said that?
That is a weirdly specific one. Maybe you were talking about a news article within earshot of your phone or something.
Are you a groiper, Alex?
I never even I'm surprised I can even say his fucking name. It's not an easy feat.
Oh, God.
I am.
Human rights? What the fuck is that shit doing here? Get that out.
Yeah, no, you need to make yourself like, that dictator Phil doesn't have that problem.
I keep getting page suggestions to like Pornhub on here.
Dude, it's the pandemic. Come on, it's the pandemic. Everybody is getting nothing but page suggestions to Pornhub. Like, there's nothing to do except hope that you don't die and jack off.
That's very like pro micro targeting. They're probably like looking at you and they're like, let's see, he's a straight white male, he's conservative, and he's disabled. Pornhub it is then.
But see, like, who would actually like want? But here's the bigger question: like, who in their right mind like would actually like that page? Because like,
maybe they just want to see who else has liked it.
Unrepentant perverts and psychopaths.
I know some people out there who just don't give a fuck what they post on Facebook.
That's true, but that's just fucking cruel that they're like targeting that the same.
I got fucking propane. I'm Hank Hill now. Dormitory. I never fucking went in a dorm. Like,
you went into my dorm.
That's true, actually. What the fuck is SL Benefica?
I just got 4 in parentheses Star Wars.
You always talk about
love. I don't have any love in my life.
Uninterruptible power supply.
What?
Millennials?
What the heck is that one?
I think it's a thing that, like, I actually know what that is. It's like, so if you can get these things, it's like a mini generator, like battery thing. So when if you lose power, like it'll keep your computer on for like a couple.
Oh, duh. Okay, yeah, that's for some reason I was thinking oh shit those machines that never stop.
Server?
No, like limitless energy. It's a pseudo science like thing.
Perpetual machine.
Perpetual motion. That's it. Yeah, perpetual motion energy.
What the fuck is Juris Doctor?
Bacon. I fucking hate bacon.
I love bacon. How do you hate bacon, yo?
They never do it right. Like I
when
like
they
it.
do, it tastes amazing.
No, it's like I like it very crispy, and I like it on a fucking fountain. Like it's very rare.
What are you, Muslim?
No, I like pork. I love fucking like pork tacos, but fucking bacon, man, it's like they never do it right.
Dude, what the fuck is Juris Doctor? Oh, it's a JD. Oh. Why was I recommending that? I have no interest in the medical field.
Wait, Alex. So let me get this straight. They're saying that you're Jewish, and yet they're recommending bacon to you as well.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, this is 2020. That's not acceptable.
Yeah, get out of that. Why am I recommend the Libertarian Party and then Major League Baseball?
You always talk about libertarians.
Yeah, but I'm always shitting on them because I'm like, guys, grow up and like, get with it. Stop talking about on the roads.
Fucking is Japanese language in Israel. Fucking tax. I do not like tax. I'm removing that.
Feminism?
They had 20 things for fucking like alcohol. I was like beer, distilled beverage, brewery. Like I get it, okay.
Dude, I got feminism.
Me too.
Cheddar cheese.
Pop music. Farm.
Are we filling out a bingo card with this stuff? Like, Jesus Christ, what's up with this Facebook? Come on now.
It's like fucking kids film. This sounds like they think, what the fuck? Kids film? I mean, is that a movie or is it saying I like watching kids in film, which is pretty fucked up? Facebook thinks I'm fucking pedophile. What the fuck?
Be interesting, actually. Like, make up bingo cards so that you can go into your Facebook advertising topics and make a game out of it, a drinking game, probably, because vodka.
You know what I was thinking? Like, you could like almost be like a like give someone your like Facebook advertiser interest, and it'd be like a fortune teller, and then try to go describe who it is.
Well, that's what this stuff does. It's literally trying to predict your future.
A similar like thing with like like if you ever smell like a fart, kind of smells like we're repudiate. You could have like a fucking like fart sniffing fortune teller with that.
What?
I predict you ate this shit.
What?
I
mean, this is trying to. I should actually correct myself. It's not really trying to predict your future. It's trying to manipulate your future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why I was only half joking earlier when I was saying that this is not it's not just like it's telling you what you are going to be interested in going forward. Like I was only half joking about that. It's like I feel like that is actually what they're trying to get towards.
Yep. No, you're 100% right. I mean, Alex Jones went on a rant about that, and people like call him like crazy, but it's like, the AI is literally taking away your free will by manipulating your future and giving you less free will and choice in life when you're just being manipulated with the illusion of choice. But see, look at the order I have here. I have Ellen John, which yes, life, playing cards, yes, tradition, based, treehouse, Big Ten Conference, nope, Daenerys Targaryen, hot, James May, great, and then brand. It's so random. Libertarianism, fucking again. Like, get that out.
Fucking adolescence.
Communication.
Russian cuisine. What the fuck do Russians even eat? It's like vodka, which I guess I'm all
borscht.
That's true. I never fucking had borscht though.
It's pretty good. It's wait. Borscht is the beets one, right? Yeah, it's like shredded beets fermented or something like that. It's like a beets thing.
Yeah, I've
Am
never.
I
Sibling,
thinking of something else?
sibling, mass media, satire, knowledge, universe, ambient music, conspiracy theory. Yo, there we go. Got something right. Brit
Heck yeah.
pop. God.
Now,
Some of it's all right.
Dude, they just put fucking gas on there. Like, what gas are you talking about? Like,
Gaslighting.
Is
Wait.
it neon, argon, krypton?
that's true too.
Wait,
like,
wait.
any of the state of matter, fucking brand.
wait, how is LSD on here?
Whoa, they. Why is that on mine?
They
Giving
know,
you something to
Sam.
aspire towards.
Maple syrup.
Country, meteorology, corruption awareness. Ooh.
Wait. So they had the Matrix film, and they put another one for the Matrix. Are they saying that? See, I think that's true. Like, they say like the idea.
We did watch The Matrix at one time. Do you remember?
Yes, but that was the film. I already have that. I have two Matrixes on here. One was Matrix, the film, then there's just one that says The Matrix.
Well, do you have Kansas, roaming, Celebridade, and New Brunswick?
Oh, I think New Brunswick, isn't that Canada?
I think so.
Like, I had Trailer Park Boys, if that counts for any sort of Canadian.
Gentlemen, I am enjoying the shit out of all of this stuff, but unfortunately, it is getting to the point where this old guy has got to get to bed. I wanted to leave you with one final thought, parting from myself. This is not coming from me. This is coming from a Twitter communist. If you're white and you eat sushi with chopsticks, congratulations! Clapping hands emoji. You're a colonizer.
Cultural appropriation.
Cultural appropriation if you're white and you eat sushi with chopsticks. That's the last. It's just That's 2020 for you. Yep.
See, Sean, you're not you need to do better, Sean. You don't eat with the chopsticks.
You already made me eat that shit. Like when you visit, and I try the chopsticks, but they're like impossible to use.
Like horse balls or whatever.
You're just not trying hard enough. Come on.
I'm
Actually,
not
I don't know who I was saying
colonizing
that
hard
to.
enough.
Yeah, exactly. You are not colonizing hard enough. Now, somebody responded to this tweet with, "Who wasn't a colonizer? I will wait."
Yeah.
I think you're going to be waiting for a long time.
Yeah. Fucking anyway. Japan was, and everyone of them. Definitely. Holy shit.
Oh, hot, spicy take. Good Lord.
Anyway. Well, thank you for coming on, though, TK. I appreciate it, because I know it was a very lively, impromptu, in many ways, like sort of slew of guests we had on, but it was awesome.
This was fun. I need to put myself out there more and do stuff like this. This was a great deal of fun, and like loved your guys' show when you were on the air, and I'm appreciating what you're doing here. Keep on doing it, and if you'll have me back on it sometime in the future, I'd be more than happy to stop on by.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I mean, we're always streaming at this hour, so on Saturdays, well, that might be changing soon, but you can always drop in whenever you want. And where can people follow you on Twitter and tune into your show?
All right. On Twitter, I am at DJ Tim Kai. That is DJ TIMKAI. The Altered State Twitter account is The Lion Altered. The show is uploaded to Mixcloud when the logger doesn't shit itself and not record the show, which happened last week.
When that happens.
I know, right? It's an FCC violation too, which is fucked up. If that got out, it like legitimately 3 days worth of non-compliance with the FCC. Anyway, let's erase that from the. We can erase this, right? This isn't live. Oh God, no, I'm joking. Anyway, but mixcloud.com/altered state _PSU, and then the show itself is on Sundays from 5 to 8 p.m. on, again, The Lion 90.7 FM. It is thelion.fm, or you can find it on tunein.com for the live web streams. I have a music project that I go by under Once and Future No One, at Once Future No One on Twitter, Once and Future No One with a backwards E on SoundCloud. If you're interested in some noise shit.
Nice.
That's my main socials. I'm not going to give you my Facebook account because A, I don't use it. B, it's under my actual name, and C, it's for family stuff. So it's like I don't use it for anything outside of.
No, we
this.
get that.
Yeah, that's fine. We only really push our Twitters and Parlors and whatever else we have left.
You'd think I'd be all over that shit, but there's only so much energy that I have in a day to be able to maintain even just a Twitter account, or I guess technically 3 Twitter accounts and a Mixcloud. But it's just like there's just way too much stuff out there. One of these days I'll get a Parlor probably, but gotta love it. I can't wait to be called a Nazi because I went to the far right, alt social media account Parlor or Gab or any of those other things.
Yeah, they're already doing that to Gina Carano.
Oh yeah. Now, anytime anybody attempts to make something to fight against one of the big things, everybody just dogpiles on them and says, "Oh my God, look at all of the far right people on there." It's like, what far right people? Like all the far right people? You mean the far right people that exist here because they can't exist anywhere else yet right now? Like this is the only place they can go? Is that those far right people? The ones that if you just ignored them, they wouldn't be that big of a deal? Those far right people? It's like, ugh.
Yep, that's what they do. Is they wanna crush the competition. They wanna silence us forever, pretty much.
But then who would they silence after they silenced the people that they disagreed with? Because it doesn't stop there. They never think about that. They never learn from the damn history. You don't stop once you've gotten rid of your enemies. You find more enemies until there is literally one person, and then you kill yourself because you disagree with yourself on something.
Yep. Yeah,
and then the world will be at peace.
Look at China, man. That's what's gonna happen. They keep following it.
I made myself sad again. I'm gonna go to bed.
All right, take it easy.
Sounds good.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for having me on. And you take care and have a great rest of your evening.
You too.
Thank you much.
Dude, it fucking says I like Zimbabwe. Fuck that
See, here's mine. I found some new ones for me, and we'll wrap this up soon, guys, because it's getting late for us too. So we have reason, liberalism, far-right politics. Ooh, there we go. Evolutionary psychology, debate, British blues, reality, Entre Rios province, shtick, Amish, social philosophy, U.S. state, black. That's racist.
It says I like white.
Willow. Nationalism, yes. Thomas name. Oh my God. I think I know who that's referencing. Progressivism, yes. Matter. Where's some more fun? Owen Benjamin.
Oh, not drink again.
Libertarian Party of Canada. Ligand, biochemistry. County seat, men's right movement based. Memetics.
Yes.
Minority group, right wing populism. Yes. Swamp. No. Lancaster, Lancashire. It's the wrong Lancaster. Don't tell him that. Candy Carson. Subsidiary. Euroscepticism. Lancaster County, PA. Fuck. Donald. Separation of Powers. Delco Electronics. It's so random.
Watch it put like fucking Cutco on there.
I'm waiting for that to come up. Of Mice and Men.
Oh, we always talk about that movie with the rabbits. This
Dark
is like
Future.
multi-core processor. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Wait,
probably like a single core processor. Fuck those.
Charlie Sheen is on here for me.
Oh my god.
What's not to love? Like getting tons of bitches, coke, and AIDS. You know, it's got it.
Winning.
Preparation principle? What?
Member states of the United Nations. I fucking hate the United Nations.
I had the UN on here
Departments
too.
of Burkina Faso. When has that ever came up in conversation?
What about Rider University? I don't even know who they are.
Maybe you have to look it up. Maybe that's where you want to get your master's in.
Really? Yeah, because I need a master's. That's what I need.
You probably like. I'm telling you, man. It's not gonna hurt.
Mixed martial arts. That's Cosmic Rebecca's fault.
No, that's you from watching that fucking Joe Rogan. Probably is actually.
Oh god.
Says
Rhythm and
speed.
blues.
I like fucking speed.
What type of speed? The movie or?
The 1994 film, but I was like, I just think I'm fucking method. Weaker boy. Anthropomorphism. I guess I'm a furry now, guys. Facebook outed me.
Well, you're the one that like got me. Oh, I don't want to phrase it that way. That like delved me deep into that community to study it.
It says that like the 2006 film Click. That's like the one fucking Adam Sandler film I really fucking hate.
Oh my god. Did they have like anime lists on there?
No, there wasn't an anime film. It's Adam Sandler.
No. I'm saying, do they have anime lists on your fucking list though?
No, designers.
No.
The fucking D Gray Man. Who's D Gray Man? I'm actually interested now. Provinces of Argentina. Safety, America, and Canadian football. I don't even like football. Victory. Who doesn't like victory? Southern Africa. British Empire. Like right under that.
Based.
Pepe, footballer, born 1983. Yeah, I think they got that confused.
Oh god, this is so funny. Well,
Carnivora.
What was that?
It says carnivora.
Yeah, you
like
are, big boy.
What the fuck's carnivore? Is that like carnivora, like with an A at the end? Is that like the name of some like I don't know?
As a female that eats meat. Oh god, sound wrong.
Christianity in the 1st century. Huh.
What are you, a friend of ours with a medieval studies degree?
Oh god, fuck that. I wonder if that'd be funny to put that under their medieval studies. If we talk about enough, it probably would pick that up.
Oh god. Well, I'm gonna end this stream on a high note and also a late note. So thank you guys for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe. Click that sub button right there if you're still tuned in, but it's probably just fucking us left. If you made it to the end of this, congrats. But we'll keep pumping out great content like this. And as always, follow Sam too at Sam_NWGC. I think I got that.
Yep, you got it perfectly.
Yes. And at PLUFFY I think he fell asleep. And I guess at Versa News Media on all the other places. But thank you guys for tuning in. See you later, gamers.
Take it easy.
Wash your hands.
What the fuck? It says I like puberty. Who